Call me yours. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, that's budget work session 25-26. We'll try to get through general fund and some of the other major funds. Talk through utilities tomorrow. Danielle, I'm gonna start with you. Assuming you have, you're gonna go over like your cover here.
yeah, I wanted to go over a few things before we get started. So you guys have quite a bit of printed stuff in front of you, and then I'm going to share my screen so that as we're working through budget and things that you guys want to appropriate and not, I can input it, and then I've got those formulas pre-built out so that we can see the impact as we go through it. And that'll specifically be helpful in like general fund where we've got a lot of projects and some of the larger funds. But before we get into that, I want to go through some of these papers and then and just kind of talk about a overall budget things first. So you've got the agenda in front of you. This is not like a hard and fast agenda. If you guys want to change it, we can. I tried to do it in a way that maybe made the most sense and where we had some impacts to budget. And then water and sewer will be talked about tomorrow so that Nora and Steve can be here. So I'm hoping to do 2 hours tonight or less. I don't know that we'll be that efficient, though. I think really we need to give it the appropriate time. Or if we need to go over a little and you guys are okay with it, I'm good with that too. But we've got the agenda. Behind that is just some information that was attached to the agenda as well. So I did do just a kind of brief summary of each of the different departments within the funds. And we can talk about that, but you'll see really throughout the budget, there's not a lot of significant changes. And you can, again, it kind of repeats that there's some things in there. So if you have questions about that, I had a council member that had reached out to Brandon and requested some information on millages. So that's on its cost to taxpayer. This is just showing you based on different taxable values, what a mill, what those different amounts would create or generate, what the payment would be for those. It's not really tied to any like specific millage rate now. I guess this is just so you guys can kind of visually see what that looks like. And then I was asked to provide by a council member the current wages. So I had sent you guys the draft wage scale earlier in a weekly summary, and that's the last page. So it lists the employees with their current fiscal year wages. And then what I'm proposing, which I think is all of you are aware, I'm proposing a 4% increase for the employees. And then that third column, or really fourth column, shows the increase. And then I've got some notes on the side, and that's because we have employees who get certification pay. So they get a 4% increase, and then their certification pay is added into that after the increase. It's not part of their percentage there. And then there's at the very bottom some annual costs for you guys to look at. So at any point you can ask questions about those things, but they're really, that's kind of all supplemental information for you guys. Since then, I was also asked for a debt schedule. So I just provided a summary to you guys. Every year in the budget binder, I actually print the full debt payment schedules for you. I will continue to do that every year because it's part of the budget, but I thought for purposes of discussion, and so I didn't give you a lot more paper to be more confusing. I just give you the summary. This includes the payments with, it's our principal and interest payment, plus whatever year it's going to the debt's supposed to be paid off. I've also printed your council goals, which you guys have already adopted for this fiscal year. I thought that I should have really probably attached this to the agenda, so I apologize. But I thought this might be helpful for you guys when we start talking about what capital projects you want to fund or not. You can look back at your goals and have a refresher of what you guys said was priority 1 or lower. So it's just to help guide you. I have printed copies of the budget. And again, I'm going to have it on the screen for you. I did this really technical numbering system, so sorry, it's not real fancy, where I hand wrote initials and then one. So like GF1 is general fund one. And you'll see in every corner or like major street is MS1 or whatever page number. I will be referencing those if you guys get lost where we're at and you're wanting to look at it in paper. After I had printed them, I'm like, okay, we need some way to stay on the same page. So wanted to make sure you guys see that. So the only other thing, not only, I guess, but the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about before we get into this is I did the budget the same way I have now since I've been here, which is crazy. This is my 5th budget. Gwen and I were talking about it yesterday. And I think this process seems to work really well. But we do have some newer council members, so I just want to make sure we kind of know going into this. So what I typically do is we'll look at a fund and we'll go through. I don't really typically go into the weeds too much on every single line item in the expenditures. I try to point out any major changes to you guys. But certainly if you have specific questions, I'm not trying to overlook them. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the big things that I really need your input on. And I like to have council focus on the larger capital projects that are tied to your goals, because what the other lines are, they're important, but that's our operating. If you guys want us to continue providing the same service that we do today, that is what we need to do so. And then the things, and I've highlighted sections, those are the things that aren't operating, they're outside of that or above and beyond, and that's where we need your guidance. And Ken's not here, so sorry for calling you out, Ken, when you watch this later, but with him being newer, asked me a really good question when he was going through the budget, and he said, what do we have to fund? What are we legally required to fund? And I thought it was a really good question, and I wanted to bring it up tonight because, again, some of you are new, and I just think it's good to put into perspective that in order to have a community, we have to have streets, we have to have water and sewer. The street condition that we have is not regulated. We could say we're going to have dirt streets throughout Blissfield, not saying we should do that. But we have to have some means for our residents to leave and come into the community. Water and sewer is regulated by Eagle, so we have to do whatever requirements that they require of us. Outside of that, our brush pickup, our plowing of the sidewalks, our pool, all of that is quality of life and what contributes to it. I'm not saying we shouldn't have these things, but when you guys are going through the budget, that's what you should be keeping in mind, is what things are contributing to the quality of life that we want to have here in Blissfield. So I just thought it was a really good question that Ken asked, and I thought it would just be a good thing to kind of remind you as we go into this. But other than that, that's some, I think, kind of, oh yeah, talking to your microphone too. So that people can hear you.
I didn't call any names.
But other than that, I think we can get started. And again, if you guys have specific questions, please stop me at any point. But I would like to start with the motor vehicle fund, if you guys are good with that. So it is in your whole packet of thing. It's actually going to be at the very back. It's the last page, front and back. So it's got an MV1 and MV2 on it. And then let me share my screen here. So motor vehicle fund is really an inter fund that we have, an inter-village fund. So the revenues from this are actually generated from equipment rentals that we use. So when DPW mows Ellis Park pays a rental on that mower. Or when he goes, and it's a lot of DPW. So when he goes over and he mows, or I'm sorry, not mows, does a water break, he's going to bill that truck rental to the water fund. And then that money is then in turn supposed to fund repairs and replacement. The other department that contributes to this is the police department, and they do a lease transfer into this fund every year. They were doing $35,000 a couple years ago, and we evaluated that, and it was not enough to cover their maintenance, fuel, and replacement, so we bumped that to 57. However, we are seeing increases in their upfitting costs specifically, and vehicles a little bit. So we are proposing to bump that lease payment up to 60,000. So that 60,000 is transferred in from general fund, specifically the police department. So that is one of the changes to revenue here. As far as the expenses, we took a lot of expenses that were in this fund out previously, such as as part of my wages, clerk, treasurer, and some things that really should not be a part of this fund. There are wages still included in this fund, and those specifically are tied to DPW wages because they do a lot of in-house maintenance on their equipment. So when they're doing that equipment maintenance, it gets tied back to this fund because they've paid the rental fee to cover that cost. And then it covers fuel, things like that. So there's not any major changes to the expenses of this fund. We do have a capital request of a dump truck that DPW needs. And the cost is 200,000 brand new. If you look towards the bottom right, you can see that we have 148,977 if we leave a 3-month reserve in this fund. There's no recommended reserve required in this fund. So it is up to you guys what you wanted that to be, because it is a inside village fund. But even if we were to have no reserve, we're a little bit short on that dump truck.
Sorry, I was just checking. Sure.
It's okay, Lisa was weirding me out with my echo over here. Sorry.
Making sure it's working.
So we could look at leasing it, but I would like to try to budget something for that dump truck, so that we can move forward. But again, this is where we get into some discussion, and Bren's here if you have questions about that equipment at all.
So Danielle, restate it, so where it says MV2 page, and it says we've got a 36,690 3-month reserve. That's what we currently have without the truck.
So what that's saying is that if you want to maintain a 3-month reserve, which equals $36,690, that would leave you $148,977 in available funding. Now I'm just telling you what a 3-month reserve looks like. And I tried to do that throughout a lot of these funds, so that you would know. So your total ending fund balance is 185,667. You could spend up to that amount. You guys need to decide what you want to keep for reserves in this account. There's no recommended reserve in this because it is an internal fund within our village. So where water, sewer, general fund, there are some recommended reserves there that we'll talk about. This one's a little bit different. So my recommendation that would be that we budget something for this dump truck. I also made a note on the side that we could look at leasing a dump truck as well. The other thing I guess I should tell you too is I would like to apply for a capital facilities grant. Obviously grants are never guaranteed, but if we were successful in getting that, it would pay for 30% of the dump truck cost. So that may be a way for us to fund the project and get some help through that grant, but again, it's not guaranteed. So we need to decide what amount we feel like we could budget there, or, I mean, if you guys have any other questions too.
To help myself again, you think you're not gonna forget all the stuff that you do year after year. So as I take a look at 24-25, the purchase of the DPW truck with the blade and the utility, that was purchased for the 60 grand.
Yes.
And then obviously the tractor that we talked about for the 49, that was also purchased, and you're just giving us to say, this is what we've got in the past.
Yes, so yes, I should have, I guess, mentioned that at the beginning too, Gwen. So that's a good point. You have a lot of columns. When you're looking at this, the far right is my recommended budget. And then the highlighted is me saying, you guys need to make a decision here. Department requested is going to show you that's everything, because I want you guys to I want you to be able to see there's no way we can, not just you, but staff as well, that there's no way we can fund everything and what we've requested compared to what we're recommending, so that if there are changes. projected year end is the current fiscal year. So that's what we're saying we're gonna end up here at the end of this year so that we know where we're starting next year. And then I'm required to provide 2 previous years in the budget every year it's presented. So that's where you see the 2 historical years.
What are, leasing a dump truck, just from a layman's point of view, does not sound like a good idea.
It's almost a lease to own, so they would, if we didn't have all the money up front, they would lease it to own it, so you'd have to pay a little bit of interest. And we can get some kind of a program, they have it international and companies carry that program.
And they do governmental leases, which are lower rates typically, so they're not making as much money. But a lot of communities do this. It's not something that I'm aware we've done in the past. It's certainly not a bad thing. It is a balance. You don't want to lease own everything and have a ton of payments, but you don't, I mean, you could do nothing, but it certainly doesn't hurt us to, you're just committing to that payment for however many years. So we did a lease payment specifically with the police department and their in-car cameras. So we split that over a 5-year period. Instead of paying all that cost up front, we said we'll pay $4,937 over a 5-year period. And then we did it again, actually, when we did the upgrade to the in-car cameras for the LPR.
What would the term on this lease to own? We'd have to look at it.
Yeah, that's not, we've not done the lease to own terms or any costs at the, I'm just putting it out there as an option for you to consider when you're going into this, trying to decide what amount to appropriate.
And the dump truck we're replacing is a 1999. So it's the 99. And we bought it new.
The last brown one, the last tan one.
Yes, we bought it new.
Does it have a blade on it now?
Yes, blade underneath,
So you get
and it can run
blade.
front blade or the, it has a belly blade.
Is that included in 200,000?
Yeah, I got this here, if you guys wanna look at it. This is the. This is the first one, the truck, and the other one, the truck and trailer is the outfitting of it. That was the last bid I got. So if you want to look at that. I told them up.
You're at 200 though, that's what.
Well, it's right out of that bid, if you'd ordered it at that time was 181, but the new trucks went up. The 27th went up 15, they're gonna go 15 and 20,000, yeah. The first one is the truck chassis, the second one's the outfitting it, truck and trailer. Because when you buy it, you just get the chassis, then they put the bed, everything else all goes on it, buy the blades and everything.
Stainless, like.
Well, if we bought international, the bid I got is identical to the white one that you guys purchased with. Exact same truck.
So not that long ago, Danielle, we talked about, again, the motor vehicle fund was sort of underfunded, right? And now we're at least caught up and making. You know, I guess my question is, legally, can we do interfund transfer much like we do from the general fund, anything else? What can and what can't we do? Transfers we can't do into utilities because those are enterprise, but we can pretty much do anything else.
So any enterprise fund, you're not supposed to do right. So this isn't an intergovernmental fund, so it is funded through transfers or payments essentially to ourselves. So we're not you asked a couple questions. One, we did pull out all of those extra things. And I talked about wages, but there was, I think, like audit fees in here. There was memberships and dues, a lot of things that were being billed here that really shouldn't have been billed here. We have pulled all of that out. So it is now funding only the things that it should be. Because I think that was your first question.
Not lawnmowers or anything like that.
It would fund replacement of lawnmowers because those are rented back to this fund. It came out of this fund.
But it's not listed as like
So
3.
I didn't list, it's listed, if you look at new equipment, there's 103,000 and then 161,000. That's I didn't list it out every year because if I did that,
Okay.
it's gonna extend our budget. I just list out the most current fiscal year
Okay.
capital projects just to keep it condensed a little bit, but they did come from this fund and they would in the future as well. But what I was going to say too is we are not required to have this fund. We could say we're not going to do this and then general fund or whatever fund would have to fund the equipment. But this, I think we did this is a smart way to do it. I think it's a way for us to put money aside without then having to look at general fund and be like, well, we can't afford to replace this dump truck or we can't afford to buy a police car and have it. This is supposed to act as kind of a savings to put that money away and fund the replacement. Now, that being said, I think it was a healthier fund and year to year, you know, we look at the budget and we probably put some things over there because we're like, how are we gonna make our budget work? And I'm not saying I mean, I get why we did that, but
It wasn't healthy, we're going short.
right, and that's why we needed to pull those things out.
Cause I don't wanna set us, you know, I obviously, if we need the equipment, I wanna try to get it, but I don't wanna set us up for failure, you know, say next year. We're gonna be short to purchase a police car, which I think because that's due next year, right?
It is due next year, yes.
Well, it was actually due this year, then.
Well, it was actually due this year and Chief and I talked about it and we felt like it could be pushed out.
Right.
Another year because they're not idling them and we're trying to make the things that we have last as long as we can. And because DPW has been, unfortunately, because of the fund balance in this, a lot of their equipment is really old and needs to be replaced and we recognize that. So we would like to fund this dump truck as much as possible.
And the reason, I guess, for reserves. I guess, give me a reason, say we total out a pickup or something, I mean, is that to say that we have something for a down payment for our next one?
So reserves for this fund specifically would be, yeah, like, let's say a police car engine blows and it's $20,000. How are we gonna pay for that? Or, and I'm saying a police car, it could be, let's say one of Brent's mowers, something major happens and we've got to replace it to continue mowing the parks. Where does that come from? So that's why you would typically have a reserve in this. Again, it's an inter-fund, so you are an intergovernmental fund, so you're not required. The auditors are saying it's really whatever council's preferences. You could say, no, we want a 6-month reserve, or we feel 1 month sufficient because if we had to, general fund could help, or whatever you guys want to do there. It's really yours. I'm telling you, I said 3 months because that's what general fund is, and just so you can visually see from there what you want to do.
Well,
And I guess if you're wanting, my recommendation would be to fund $150,000 for the dump truck. If we're successful in getting that grant, it would pay for potentially 60,000, which is 30%. Which means we would have to fund 140. It'd give us a little bit of cushion. If we don't get the grant, it gives us some money to put towards it either next year and hopefully get the police car as well, or it gives us the option to look at a lease. And potentially with a lease, you could sometimes put a little bit more down and then have a lower payment. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility going into the budget to look at our options.
At least have terms where we could pay it off, like you said, it's gonna.
Yes,
So-
typically
so-
any governmental lease would let you pay it off early.
Well, that would make sense, either we just assume that we're gonna do it, we're at 185 and change if we don't have any reserves, and if it doesn't go through. We, you know, number we apply for the grant, we don't get it, fine, we lease it, we continue, we pay it off in 2 years. Or we get the grant, we pay it off in 1 year, and we say, okay, thanks for the.
Yeah.
Low interest lease. I would say go for it. I mean, if we don't have to set a reserve, yeah, it's nice that have a little protection, a little bit of cushion, but if it comes from the general fund or anything else, again, we pick and choose. There's things that I think in the general fund we could pull out and put towards it, so. I think there's ways of coming up with another 25,000, they should pay it off.
hey, Brent, so the 93,430 is for the vehicle itself,
Yes,
and then the 88,340 is what did you say?
that's the outfitting, that'd be your bed and everything, the weights and everything, all we'll drive over there is just a frame.
And that's
Just a
all
frame.
the ideal.
Yeah,
That's all.
yes.
Okay.
Those are the only 2 places you can find them. And that's just, I just brought you the international one to match that. We'll bid, we can bid the international out for the other ones.
That's like a flatbed dump truck. No,
All you're gonna get, when we drive that over there, it'll be just framed, and then
Just frame.
truck and trailer does all the rest of
You
it.
pick it out here.
Yes, that's, yeah, it would just match that truck that you guys purchased the last.
What's the B spreader rate currently right now?
B spreader would.
Did we just buy a beast?
No, we rebuilt that one.
We built it.
We rebuilt it.
What's in that, or what truck's that going?
That goes in that white Ford truck that you guys, we bought before for the.
Not 99.
Yep, not the 99, it goes in the other old, the Ford truck, the 2002. Oh,
I think we can do it. I mean, it'll be tight.
So 185 you want to budget? And have no reserves, is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah, so, I was, I don't, I don't do it for the deputy. I would look 150. We have something in reserves.
I think we can get more out of the general fund.
When you say that, would you?
Grant more from the general fund. There's some other, she's got some recommendations in the general fund that I would pull out and say, let's fund a dump truck over.
Let's
That's a
take
little
it
bit
out of
more,
this.
a little bit more critical. than a
Okay,
Dump truck than.
so
like-
why don't I put the 150 here for right now, and then if you guys, when we get to general fund, choose to do an additional transfer or a payment to help offset the difference, then we can do that. Are you guys generally good with that? Okay. So the next fund that we'll talk about is the debt funds. So if you're at the back of your packet, you're gonna see water, sewer, and then debt is right in front of that, and it is also 2 pages. We can- so it'll say debt 1 and then 2 on the back. So
I have a lease idea, like a quote, like that, just like, say, this is what your options are, this is what a lease will cost. I mean,
You want, I can
Give us
get a
some
hold of
options.
them. Get a hold of them.
what's that?
I'm gonna get a hold of them. Jeremy, I'm gonna ask them, so you wanna see what they got? I thought we had a. Long time ago, we had one.
yeah, we don't, I have one for the, not the dump truck.
You want me to look at something into that? or-
I guess
That one, okay.
we will do that if you guys want. I'm not telling you no, Mike, but I guess I would just, I
You're throwing
wanna,
us an option. Give us numbers, if you're gonna give us an option, give us some numbers, say.
That one.
Buy or lease, this is what you're doing.
we just, I think need to be fair to the people who are providing these quotes too, because then if you guys don't go with that, they're providing information and spending time. I mean, that is money and cost to them. I mean, so if you guys aren't open to it, because we're just talking budget, like, we're not asking you to approve anything tonight.
So we do the-
Like, I mean, when we're getting to actually like discussing, I agree with you, we need to have that, but I just,
As an overall picture.
yeah, I mean, if that's what you guys want, I'll do it, I just, I guess,
You
and
just all set us up, say, okay, this is gonna happen each year, how do we set up budget, say we're gonna lease something when we don't get a lease payment? Means, you know what I'm saying? So it
Okay.
can be easier to have. both
Okay.
numbers.
So debt funds, there's a couple here, these are really honestly pretty straightforward unless you guys have questions. We've got the bridge debt fund, which is the first one, so we budget. That's obviously funded through our millage. So that revenue comes in, we've got our bond payment and our interest payment. And then our ending fund balance, we're allowed to have up to 150% of the payment in there so that if property taxes were to decline. We try not to max that out. We try to make our payment and leave a little bit of cushion just in case. Same with the swimming pool debt fund. You've got that in there, our bond payment. We do have some agent fees that are part of that. And then we have our municipal building debt fund. And this goes to, there's some other debt in water and sewer, but again, you've got that cheat sheet. And within your budget binder this year and next, you'll see the full payment schedule as well, but the payments year to year don't change. The principal and the interest amount do. So obviously, as we get closer to payoff, we're paying more in principal and less in interest. But otherwise, these are pretty much the same. If you guys have any specific questions about them, let me know.
So he, But no, you go ahead.
For some reason, I can't grasp, I ask every open year and I apologize, but again, so we've got. 3,000. Sorry, about like 3,000 over 1 year for the bridge. Right. We've got 50,000, 55,000 for the pool. And 450 for building, right? Kind of a over for like that. Held like a reserve.
Oh. Yeah, we don't really keep a reserve for this building at all.
Right.
So I budget, okay, so let's talk about municipal debt. I budget round numbers. We actually only transfer what we need. So I'm showing that we'll have a balance of $450, but really what we'll do is we'll transfer $23,425, but I'm just rounding it. So we don't keep a fund reserve there. And the pool and the bridge, we do keep a fund reserve there because that money comes from our property tax revenue. So because of the timing that it comes in our payment, we need to have some overlap. And that's what I was saying. We're allowed to have up to 150% because we've got to be able to make our payment before that comes in and have that coverage there. So that's why you see a fund balance. But we go through and Brandon every year looks at this and calculates to make sure that we're not charging, because we can adjust these millage rates based on what we need, that we're charging just what we need for the payment, not a bunch more. So like when we do our actual tax, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm trying to remember what's the pool again this year? And last year it was 1.32. Might have been 1.2. So we adjusted a little bit based on what we need to pay.
He's talking to them.
If you look back, I almost maxed it out, that definitely fixed it out, because then I know if I had excess amount of money.
So this year the pool is higher, the mill.
That's
mill.
0.2.
Why, when we have a much higher fund reserve on the pool, we can't pay it off early, we can't do extra payments on it again, so that's all garbage. So why have such a high fund balance for that? Again, we're trying to keep checks and balances.
Because of that local community stabilization, that we have no way to tell you what we're gonna bring into that. So 1 year that could be 50,000 and the very next year it could be 15,000. So then our millage has to be sufficient to cover that payment. And then like Brandon said, like we have literally no way to project that. So we budgeted 15 and then let's say it comes in at 50,000, then next year we know we've got that little bit of cushion where the millage can go back down again to only bring in what we need. But that's why you see that fluctuation because of the unknown factor. Like we do know what our property taxes are and can project that.
What's that based on here? Said the community, what
The local community stabilization.
what is that based on?
570. So if you did it 570, it's that.
Right.
Brandon, he's asking how they determine what amount we get for that.
They have a form, I guess, to actually make it all the say there is some kind of formula. And what they do is every year they reduce 10% of $1. And I think it's 5% of the that's and we do moving. If they can't deny it. With that being said, I don't know what that payment would be until October, and that money in October is more back to the previous fiscal year.
What do you mean roll back?
So it's recorded as revenue, and so the payment that we did in this October, even though it's in the fiscal year, it's recorded in this fiscal year.
Because that's when it was earned. So because the payment's delayed. So that's why we don't have a way to project what that actual cost will be. So we have to have that ability to pay the payment. And then if that comes in higher, we can adjust it the following year.
they won't tell you what they base that, how they make those figures. Why would that ever drop? Why would it ever drop substantially? Where we couldn't pay for the debt?
I don't know how they calculate that, Mike. I'm not sure.
It's a huge spreadsheet, and I'm really happy to show you that spreadsheet with every unit. It's just not easy to read. And then what they do is that they're very happy that they'll say, this is what they're doing, that for your professional coverage, that's.
It's just, my point is, it's so frustrating, and I don't wanna harp on the pool too much, but my gosh. The debt that we have for it is ungodly, the operations are out of the general fund are ungodly. We never make anything close to recouping what, in sales. So again, if we could lower a millage on the taxpayers and less burden ourselves a little bit by not having a year, or $50,000 that just sits there, right? I mean, more power to us. So why can't we figure out from them what they base that on and why it would ever look out? I mean, does that make sense? I don't want to see 50,000 just sitting there.
I mean, but to put it in perspective, I get what you're saying, Mike, but the voters approved 2 mills for the pool. We don't charge 2 mills, we charge what we actually need, so we're at 1.5. And I understand what you're saying, but we have the pool, I mean, that's not. Yeah, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but we are not just trying to max out and have money sitting there as a good for us, we got money sitting there, we're trying to make sure that we minimize that as much as possible.
I don't see where you're coming up with the 50,000. I see the difference of the 15,000 to the 18,850, but I'm not sure where you're coming up with the difference of the 50,000 setback.
Whatever they want to pay out, even though we don't know there's a big sanitization is gonna be, we also have to take into consideration how many properties there is increase in now. By the time we do that year section, they really did. We break out the taxes on those properties, but I also have to take into consideration how much I need to put aside for this exemptions, because I don't myself paying back up to 3 years back to the company. That's what we have to do, because especially the exemptions go back 3 years. So those are the things I also have to take into account. But I like to understand, the following year, we need to work in village, because we have enough money in that account, it's almost like a cycle, every other year, it's gonna be a little higher, and then the other year, it'll be lower.
So that it doesn't balance out.
Yes, it'll balance out. That's why most of the time, to that actual repayment.
Kind of like what happens with an escrow account on your mortgage.
Right.
Yes,
I mean, it's essentially the same type of cycle. 1 year it'll go up, and then the next year it'll go down because you were paid more.
yes,
Previous
yeah,
year.
that's actually a
Must be
really
nice
good
if fund always
comparison.
goes up.
Well, mine is too typically, but. You know,
But see what I'm
it
saying,
fluctuates a
our
little
capital
bit.
projects expenditures are 150, our fund balance is 205.
The only luxury you have.
It's the problem is it's not going up and down, it was 167. Last year.
But you're looking, our expenses aren't going to change, it's the revenues that are changing to cover those expenses.
That's why I'm saying those collective revenues. Based on whatever the community development thing is, so payments are, it would be nice to have a little bit more accurate, so it's not fluctuating so.
I completely agree with you, and Brandon has been working on that. It's just getting answers and to a point that we understand, and unfortunately, we've not been able to do that. But I mean, I would love to be able to tell you, we're gonna bring in $10,000 or whatever that amount is and feel confident in it, and then we bring in 10,500 and we're like, okay, we were pretty close, and right now we don't have that ability, but that's what we're just doing the best we can with the knowns that we have, and then again, that's why last year it was a little bit lower because we brought in more from that.
Well, I guess the ugly side of that is, could we have, I know we can't make early payments on the pool, but like the bridge, we can, if we had that extra 50, we could have maybe put that chunk towards principal, right?
Yes,
So again, it's kind of a lesson learned, like, look, anytime we're gonna find out none of this. No prepayment penalty garbage on top of, you know what I mean, that way, if we have some extra sitting there, hey, put it towards the balance, that helps us in the future, helps us pay it off sooner. And we're not holding such a such a large amount, you know, in the reserve.
I want to clear by the understand it, plus we do have the ability to pay that shit on the bridge, we agree with this mistake made. It has to go to the voters. Or we need to take the assessed money to put it out there, but you want to stand by that, the pool, we do not have the ability to make an additional payment. They don't have to go to the voters, so you'd be able to, you can actually payment.
Are there any other questions about the debt funds?
I don't figure it out, sorry, it's just.
No, it's okay. So I didn't put ARPA on the thing, but I just want to point it out. It's in your online packet. There's nothing budgeted for next year. I'm going to have to show it in the budget because we spent money this year and we have to show the previous 2 years, but that is fully spent on the water project for this year. So just wanted to point that out. The next one is the special PD funds, and there's a couple here. These are really, we get some, well, I'll go through each one. So we have the state police education fund, that's the top one, the 266, and I think this says SPPD
It does.
in your packet. Which again, if you're kind of towards the back, it should be in front of water and sewer again. And it's 2 pages. But we get, the state every year sends us some money. We budget that based on what they tell us, like you get 2 semi-annual payments, what that's gonna be. And then the police department can spend that on training or equipment specifically tied to training. So we just try to budget whatever we have. Obviously, there's a little bit of a fund reserve there. We're not required to keep that, but because the funds are limited to what chief can use them for, it is sometimes hard to spend that full balance. So whatever we don't spend just gets carried forward and stays in that fund. The drug forfeiture account, we have nothing budgeted for next year. We had a little bit of money this year that chief spent on some new equipment. So that zeroed that account out. If we will maintain that account, because if we do bring in anything, it has to be tracked separate. The 272 law enforcement CPE training fund. This is a brand or a newish fund. I guess this will be the 2nd year now, 3rd year that we're going into. And the state sends us a designated amount per employee that we have. So next year we're expected about 6,500. You can see that we've budgeted 10,000 because we do have a higher fund balance there. This money has to be spent on training. And the officers have been doing a lot of training, but they've been doing online things that are a little bit cheaper. So we've just not spent this money, but it gives us the ability to maybe spend it here instead of general fund. And then a new to us fund is the automobile inspection fund. Officer Anton is now certified to do this. That money has to be spent on new equipment for the police department. And there is a fee of $100 to do that. He's done one, we've revenued it. We didn't really budgeted anything for next year because we don't know. He could do none or he could do 3. It is super time consuming. So I would just amend the budget and we'll kind of use that as needed if you guys are okay with that. But otherwise, those are, like I said, the funds come in from the state and we try to spend it within the limitations we have. But if you have questions, let me know.
That automobile inspection fund is a salvage title.
Yes, yes, yeah. If there's no questions, we will move on to the building fund. Yes.
Spent 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours doing that.
Yeah, it is very time consuming.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would have to talk to Tom a little bit more about that before I could answer that, Mike. 'Cause I do know he did the one and I think we were talking about that and maybe him and chief were gonna review it a little more closely to see. And I think right now he's only offering it to village residents as well. So if you're non-resident, we do not do that. Just because of the time it does take. So moving on to building fund, which is Did I not print it?
Well,
I think I missed it. Okay, it's not printed. I'm
Print it.
sorry.
Send it to the printer right now.
Um,
I'll go get it.
I was having some printing problems. It was only printing like the first page of the budget sheet. I was getting so frustrated, so I'm sorry, you guys. I'm gonna have Lisa grab this for us real quick. So I've got it up on the screen and I'll make this larger. Please let me know if that didn't work. This fund is, all the revenues come from our building fees, building permit fees, mechanical, plumbing, things like that. There's obviously a very small amount of interest. This is a little bit hard to budget. We project the best we can just because from year to year, our permits can fluctuate considerably depending on what people are doing or not doing. So we do, and we budget the best we can. We do typically have to adjust this a little bit, but all of the revenues that come in fund some wages for Maddie. She does a lot of building department things. And then it also funds our inspector wages and their training, which is down below. There's pretty minimal outside of that, a little bit of office supplies. And things like that, but we are asking for a capital project for this department. We're wanting to get some map racks to put in the basement. Currently we have shelving down there and then we put them in boxes. It's okay, but it's very hard to find things down there. And the rack system that we're looking at would have designated slots that we could label and then have a master list so that if we need to pull plans or a property file, we can just look at that master list, say, okay, it's in slot 123 and go pull it and not have to spend hours down there.
Hanging or roll.
It would be rolled. Yes. If we were to fund that, we would have well over a 3-month reserve, which is 13,000. This is another one of those funds that there's no recommended fund balance. We just have to be able to pay our expenses. I would recommend to have a little bit of a reserve, but again, we can fund everything, including the map racks. So that would be my recommendation within this fund. But if you have questions, please let me know.
Would this be the opportunity for those options might be referring to as well?
This one, I don't think you could transfer. could you?
No.
Not at all.
No, we cannot. I talked to the auditors about that last budget year. And we cannot. It's gotta be specifically used for building department purposes.
Yeah, because we had a high balance last year. We had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. But what else can we use that money for?
It has to be building fund related, so
A building fund, obviously, that's not gonna take place.
no,
I'm looking for this.
you're right.
I can literally.
Yeah, no, you're good.
What did we, I know, $20 was council technically having. That just, we may discuss it at a meeting.
That's why it's such a minimal amount, just because you guys do oversee you review the budget for it. So like if you have permitting things, ordinances tied to the building department, you guys oversee and set that policy. But it is a really small amount just because you guys don't typically do a lot with it. But you're getting ready to adopt and revise all of the building department ordinances. Hopefully.
Be cautiously optimistic that that gives us a little bit of power to say, yes, we can. Maybe the next fiscal year offset some of that, but council discussion or. We look at wages for the inspectors or, not that people are busting on the doors to build here, but. Maybe we have some sort of part-time in-house. Planner or something like that. That looks like a price rather than not just Maddie. But
Yeah.
that would, we came to that where we had the necessity of saying, okay, we have some current commercial building or industrial come in. We're paying those consultants to oversee that stuff. So,
Yeah.
I think that would be what we're looking for, say, if we actually had some growth. Yeah. It's all paper. And that basement, if you guys seen it though, that thing is, it's impossible to find anything. Every box looks the same, everything's written in cursive and then. Good luck finding it.
Yeah, it is.
I was, that was fun. Won't be long, nobody can.
And we have been trying to get that basement organized and cleaned and did a work day and DPW helped us and brought some dumpsters. We filled 2 of the. I mean, so that's just another thing where just to be more organized and that stuff, a lot of it is permanent. Well, property files are permanent records. There's no destroy date on them, so we have to keep them forever.
Is there anything that you guys need down there to?
We go down there
I mean,
regularly.
as far as, helping with the organization of how to shelving or.
We have a lot of shelving and with us doing a cleanup, opened a lot up as well. It's really just that I think we're to the point where it's just organizing what we have. And the maps is a really big one for us. They're just very hard to get through. They're all over the place. And they're not, I mean, we've done the best that we can. It's not like they're literally
Right.
thrown all over. It's just not the best way to store them and keep them in good shape and organized. Any other questions about that fund? Sorry, I missed printing that. So DDA fund is next. And this fund is completely set by the DDA board. So they have reviewed and it's labeled DDA 1 through 3. In your packet. But the DDA board goes through this with Laura every year and they go through and set what they think they can bring for sponsorships and what their expenses and different priorities are. So that they have recommended this budget to you guys. I think the biggest thing that I would like to talk to you guys about here is that they have requested a transfer from general fund. And we can talk about this a little bit more in general fund too, but just keep in mind that they've asked for $20,000. They have asked for this the last couple of years and it's specifically in the last few years. And again, this year, my understanding is to help offset some of the DPW or really all of the DPW wages that go towards the DDA. So that is something you guys, the board knows that $20,000 is subject to your guys' approval. Mike, are you gonna talk about Ken's comments? Cause you know, I feel kind of bad. I haven't even brought those up.
What line are we looking at?
So if you're in the DDA fund on DDA 1, it's 248-00699101. It's transfer in from general at 20,000.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so Ken's favor the 20 grand, and again, that falls back to probably just the last 3 years where Danielle's trying to keep things more accurate. It sort of was just included as community. We have that under, it was a general fund and community.
In economic development.
Which is already high, another like 48,000 in the general fund. So I gotta sit on that board, but man. We used to give 10,000 towards council, towards economic development. And somehow that morphed into wages and fringes and the benefits. So it just exploded from $10,000 to, I think it's economic development under general fund, which technically is part of the DEA, is legitimately like 48,000, right? If I'm more with the 20 grand.
It's 20. Well, with the 20,000, it'd be 43,875.
So again, I get it, but again. We're talking about all these events, we're talking about Laura's time and wages, we're talking about economic development on top of DDA economic development. That should be part of the DDA programming. So. But we already have quite a fund balance on the DDA, is what they're recommending. Yes, I think it makes sense to pay the DPW to do a little bit more above and beyond. I'll argue with both sides, you know, as council, DPW does things all over town that we don't quote bill them for out of a specific fund, right? The DDA sort of gets hit on, oh, it happens in the DDA district, we do a lot more with DPW. In the DDA district.
All of the funds get billed DPW wages. So like Parks and Rec has a DPW line, DDA has a DPW line, all of the parks have I mean, so everybody gets billed DPW wages, dependent on where they actually work.
And that's where you kind of try to pull that out separately from where it was just sort of more rounded in the general fund, is what I'm saying, right? That's where you kind of split it out.
It's always been separated, but it's not, it's been kind of, it used to be like meshed in, like, so it was Laura's wages and DPW's. And now they have their own department within her fund, so you can see just DPW. And I say really all of them are like that now. So even Parks and Rec has a DPW department that it gets expensed to, instead of it being meshed in with Emilio's wages as well.
It's
So that's the
above and
difference.
beyond things like hanging banners and Christmas lights or swag. I mean, all that sort of stuff that's more a little bit more
Yeah,
not
so
well-rounded in the rest of the town. It takes up a lot more time by the DPW, right? So you're trying to more accurately budget.
yes.
the DPW stuff.
And you guys, so I'm not recommending this or necessarily, but I mean, it is an option that with DPW, you have the ability to set percentages from each fund. But my understanding is historically, the village wants to know actual cost within the department. So that's why we bill the way we do. So it's actual time DPW work. But I mean, if you guys are saying we don't necessarily care about actuals, we could go through and review and say, look at historically where they've spent their time and say, and I'm making up numbers, 30% of DPW wages go into water, 25 into sewer, or whatever that may be. That is an option. Again, I'm not saying I recommend that, but
I think we need to know what our costs are.
I think we're better informed and our residents are better informed if it's actual cost. I will say on the flip side of that, it would make my budgeting life way easier if it was percentages, but I would leave it actual. But again, that's my recommendation. It's obviously up to you guys.
Because generally the TIF would have covered that. And now it's sort of a separate line item. So you're adding pretty much $20,000 more onto the DPW on their time from the general fund when it used to be out of the TIF. So again, we're collecting 130,000 in the TIF. Generally, those operations happen, the TIF gave us the money to do the more physical improvements or, emptying the garbage or hanging banners, things like that. That was stuff that the TIF paid for that kind of offset what the DPW is doing there. Now we're spending the TIF and we're also pulling from the general fund to pay the DPW to do the same thing. So again, in a way, yes, fortunately for the DDA, yes.
Is what you're-
Absolutely, yes. On top of quote economic development, which is
Because
under
that's-
the general fund,
once it goes
but it's
into that.
also our economic developer is the DDA person.
Right, but the DDA TIF can only fund the DDA district. So anything outside of the DDA district would have to be funded
Correct.
through general, which is, I think, why you've always done something from general, because
Yeah.
we've said that Laura, while she's our DDA Main Street manager, she does economic development for the entire village
But I'm
in
not
and
sure
outside
that-
of her district.
I'm not sure I can quantify that much from the general fund for economic development. I guess that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah,
On top of holding quite a fund reserve. Again, I sit on that board. I don't know really what our big major plan is to hold. Yes, we've talked about purchasing property or revitalizing this or doing things, but there's really nothing on our radar to say. we're gonna, we're saving for this large scale project. I mean, it's. that
My
makes sense
only
to you.
comment to that, Mike, is you have a capital project that I know you want specifically that's gotta be funded out over several years. And if you look at least, and since I've been here, every year, the DDA fund has taken a fund balance pull. So you are every year, year after year, decreasing your fund balance right now. So at some point, you're not gonna be able to do that. And if we're funding less, you're taking larger pulls. So the DDA is gonna have to really look at. And I think Laura's trying to work on that fund.
Well, yeah,
Growth and,
much like we just kind of mentioned at the beginning, yes. We have to spend money to grow, to make money, obviously, that, for lack of better terms. But again, are these wants versus needs? And again, people are very cognizant of where we're spending. And again, if it's about a dump truck where it benefits the entire town over some dugouts or over a Little League parking lot or over something with the DDA. By all means, I'm gonna go with something that's spread across the wealth of the general public over these sort of dream projects, I guess, or these events, these things like that.
so I'm double checking because I want to make sure I'm not lying to you guys. I think I have this, I do. I have it highlighted in general fund. So if you guys, why don't we, I'll highlight it here to make sure that we come back to it. And when we get to general fund and we're talking about transfers out, if we need to come back and adjust that, we can, if that's okay with you guys, just so we don't get too. Because I think otherwise, do you have questions about the DDA fund? Is that the big question, Mike, is that transfer?
Yeah, well,
Okay,
that and other than, again, the breakdown, I know it's a pain in the butt. Municipality budget wise, but if things were broken down by independent, design, EV.
so I thought, isn't Brandon doing that for the board now?
Yeah, but.
I don't have a way to do it in the, but
Budget.
yeah. Cause I have to present it to you guys, or we have to report it within the chart of accounts, so. This is how I have to present that to you guys, and that's why Brandon does, I think for the board, that separate kind of tracker for you.
To me, like the SNA or whatever has these specific amount of numbers, or we have these specific amount of numbers. How does a place like Detroit, you know what I mean, where they have millions of line items? How do you keep a budget when you're limited on, I'm sorry, you can only have 100 of this under this budget account, you know what I'm saying, 1 to 100. 000 to 999 or 1,000, I guess.
Are you saying like that, like for antiques and auto, you're wanting to know,
Yeah.
you believe the council needs to know the nitty gritty behind the antiques and auto?
I think it would help the DDA board too, because we look at this and then we have to have a separate budget, which literally line, or it's broken down the line.
But if
It's
DDA
not
is kind of,
efficient, to where
but if DDA has already gone kind of through that and they've approved this budget, then you have to have that trust level that the DDA board is doing their job. You're doing your job.
To an extent, yeah. But yes and no, again, when you've got layer of bureaucracy and committees and subcommittees and parks and rec and DDA, it makes it sometimes a challenge to say,
Well,
we're the buck here, and it's not trying, that's not trying to
no, I hear you.
say anything littler to, these other committees, but we're the one that has to offset and approve this
Right.
massive budget. And everything else falls underneath it.
But I mean, I don't think it's realistic for us to say, I'd like to see the dual type budget. I would like to see.
No, absolutely not. But again, as a DDA board member, I would love to be able to look at this budget and compare apples to rather than have to look at a separate line item budget. I don't know why we can't break stuff down by line.
I think what we do, Mike, if I may, for Parks and Rec, like you'll have like for the 3-on-3, you'll have like, I don't know, hypothetically, say we have 20 items with 3-on-3. The way that our advisory board like distinguishes the two is the work plans. Like, I think it would be challenging if you're gonna just for the 3-on-3, right? You have 20 different items, if not more.
Yeah, exactly. Not the
Yeah.
work plan, but just the event or the specific project or whatever.
That usually breaks down the,
Yeah.
So
I just think it makes it better for us to know. It makes it better for the boards to know, the committees to know. Checks and balances, okay, we spent this on this project, we can reallocate here over short here, you know, again, that's very vague. In a way, but the way that they have it spelled out just by, you know, 732,000 between 000 and 999. It seems limiting.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix what you're asking for outside of what we're doing. Like, if you want us to tweak what Brandon's making for you, and it's not that I'm unwilling, Mike, we have to work within the chart of accounts.
Okay, well, like.
So I think
capital-
that's-
Like capital project you have listed there, you know, you've got the ultimate number, but then you break it down underneath, so if design committee is 247,289,701.001, right? The ED is
Okay.
002. And promotions to 003, and then you break down their projects under that, right? That should be.
Yeah, you can make notes,
Yeah.
like budget notes
It's
to
just like-
any
it's just a
line item.
Exactly, that's all that I've asked for 2 years, like why?
Well, I don't know what those projects are. This budget comes from DDA. So
No, no,
DDA's just
okay.
gotta tell me what it is.
Well, I've asked, like, to have those just broken down as light items rather than a separate budget. Right, if it doesn't have to have a tag to it, it doesn't have to have a number to it. But it's a way for us to read under capital projects, here's what we're getting for 50,000 or for, you know, $26,000, whatever that is.
For every
22,000.
single one of those he wants.
And then it's broken down by line. Does that make sense? Doesn't have to have a budget number associated with it, just break it down like the capital projects are broken.
And what lines do you want broke down?
down. It would be nice to see like design committee, like promotions. You know, that kind of.
Okay. So I think this needs to be a conversation at the
Yes.
DDA
Yeah,
board level.
because-
And then we can break
Right.
that down
Because you
and,
see, we've got a line of Main Street design, which encompasses what we do, but then we've also got things that the design committee does, downtown pictures, plants. You know what I mean? So some have line items, but some don't. So why? Why not just have design and then break it down? It doesn't have to be assigned a number, but at least you know. Design committee spending this, promotions spending this, and here's the breakdown of what they're spending. I mean,
okay,
that does seem like it's super challenging, because you can do line item things
okay.
without. associating numbers. I mean, is that,
I think what you're asking for is interesting. I don't quite get it all, but, I don't. By being on DDA, that's, I understand your big groups, your design, this is good. Okay.
Does he want, I think
What
I'm
am I?
going by for my time.
Okay, so give me a specific line, or like line 16 or something. What do you want to do there? Yeah, I'm just saying, okay, so there's antiques and art, are you wanting that to be like underneath the ocean group? Is that what?
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
So that would be underneath the promotion, then what would you want done at that?
nothing, it's just saying, here's the events, and they're all listed. As much like the capital projects are, here's what your design committee is gonna do for the year, here's what the promotion committee is gonna do for the year, here's what he's gonna do.
So with our capital at line 108,
Yes.
you're saying the capital, it would- then
And
it would
that'd
be
be all,
specifically what.
yes,
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
and then we can say, well, that makes sense, or that doesn't, and it's not just DDA, it's, you know,
And
it's
you're-
Parks and Rec, it's all these other.
And you're
committees.
saying the reason is because as council, that we're where the buck stops here and we're the last
Yes.
check and
Yes,
balance.
because if we're cutting from somewhere, like we always do every year, to have to reallocate, it makes it that much easier to say. This is viable, or this is less
see what you're
viable, that we can prioritize,
Okay,
right?
I hear where you're coming from.
I think that what might be good, Mike, is that you, Laura, Brandon, and I sit down and go through this, because we would have to make some changes to this fund in order to accommodate that, and that's really like outside of, I think, our
Yes.
budget, so
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
it
make
is.
those changes and then always amend the budget to match that or work through it, but let's set up a time. I understand what you're saying. I
Okay,
think
it would be
we're
more
already,
efficient.
I think we're doing that with the events now. I think where you're may be struggling, or not struggling, that's not fair, where you're not seeing it broke down as design. But we could, I think, again, that, because that's gonna be a lot lengthier discussion, because we're gonna have to make sure we fit it in chart of accounts and kind of meet what the DDA wants, for that breakdown and notes.
Because looking at promotions, that promotions probably encompasses, ornaments, discount gift card,
They're just,
but then you've got a line item of organization, you know what I mean? So
They're just-
it's hard to know what exactly is being spent on. I mean, I think it would be much more crystal clear to the board, and then when they hand it up to us, it's much more easy for us to say, this makes sense. Nothing against.
just pretty lengthy.
DDA
Bam.
approved
Pretty
this
much
already.
More to that.
And he just said,
And events, absolutely,
Okay.
break it down by event. Right? Let's look at. You know, this event's making money, or this event that's costing us money. We step back, do we reallocate, do we say, okay, this isn't worth it, or this is worth it, this isn't worth it, right?
Yet you understand that to a degree, these guys, I mean, they are their own board and they are supposed to be responsible for this and they have. Gone through this.
Yes, but if we're allocating general funds to it, then.
Then that's why you're saying,
Yes.
okay,
I wholeheartedly want to save $20,000 for this future 223 bill when they redo that, because if we don't have any funding to do anything, MDOT's gonna come through and they're gonna force slap and they're gonna walk away. We have to set aside these extra funds. But again, if we're just doing that to hold 20,000 at the DDA level, and then we're asking the general fund to offset it, that's not the easiest for me to stop. If that makes sense. I hate it because bosses always say, look at the big picture, that makes the one cute, but that's absolutely.
and if this DDA fund, if it was totally self-sufficient
Yes.
versus the general fund,
Yes.
that's where you're, that's
Yes,
where you're.
and that's why I'm saying, if there's things that we could pull back out of the allocations from the general fund, because the general fund is always tight, right? We're talking wages, we're talking things that we can't do that we want to do. So sooner or later, we have to cut the fat and drag everything back. and say,
General fund is okay. Where we are struggling is the large amount of capital that needs to be completed that we can't do it all at once. But this is the reality. Even if we had the money, we can't do it all at once because we only have so many staff and so much time. I mean, I don't know that that's always the case depending on where our revenues are at, but I think last year and this year, general fund, we're doing
better than it
okay.
was, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not doom and gloom. Really, I don't think in any of our budget is doom and gloom. That being said, water and sewer is challenging. It's always going to be challenging, unfortunately, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, but so I just want to make sure you guys know that, and maybe I should have said that at the beginning is going into this budget. I mean, the village is not in a bad financial position. Obviously, it's my goal and it's Brandon, his treasurer, to always get us in a better position and we're never going to be in the best position, but we're not doing bad. Budget wise, we've been able to complete projects. We've been able to continue doing that. And I think if we can keep that, you're always going to have something to do because you're just never going to get to a point where you're like, okay, nothing is done because we're going to grow and evolve and change, but we're doing good financially.
I think if you just go ahead, Danielle, and do your 20 grand.
I did highlight that, and I think we'll definitely talk about it in general fund when you guys are making when we talk about bottom line where you're at, so I don't want you to think we're skipping that, but if you guys don't have any other questions, we'll move forward. So the next one I have is the garbage fund, which I think I actually have it as T&R for trash and recycling in your packets. This fund, if you have questions, let me know. We expense out the cost of the bag tags and recycling, and then we just turn around and revenue it back. So we buy the bag tags, we sell them. There's a very, very small, we make 50 cents per 10 bag tags to cover us bundling those up. We've left that as a fund balance. We do have the ability to transfer that to general fund to offset some of the wages for the employee time. I've not recommended to do that just because we do have to have a little bit of a fund balance to pay for the tags before we revenue it. And that's the only reason I haven't yet, but I think probably in the next couple of years we could do a transfer there.
Well, that's the nail on the head right there, because it falls back on when we actually purchased the tags from Stevens or whoever the vendor is, right? Because you can see it 2023, 2024, 2,840. So probably the first, right in the beginning of the next fiscal year of 24, 25, we purchased a massive roll right from them, and then we bought it.
We-
We bought them in 23, 24, but then we didn't buy them in 24, 25. That's
What
why
we
you have-
typically do is we do a large purchase because our price goes up July 1.
Okay.
So we, at the end of the fiscal year, we have a big purchase, so we have to pay for that up front and then we revenue it later. Is. I think we also never used to charge that. Again, it's not, it's 50 cents per ton. We're not talking a ton of money, but we used to just cover that cost and not recoup it in any fashion. So that I think was added in 22, 23, if I remember correctly. I mean, that was my
I
second
guess
year
you want to
here.
consider anything like cleanup day we've discussed, or, extra dumpsters or any kind of thing like that, or would it be a general fund issue?
That would be a general fund. We have a trash and recycling there for like our dumpster services. This is literally just the bag tag and recycling fund, just to track that separate. Because we do have to inventory and account for that with the auditors and stuff.
You're, I guess, investigating other companies. or
Yeah, I've
other-
got an ordinance,
That could change this exponentially, right? Though, I mean, depending on what programs or what services we offer, or
yeah, it's gonna depend on what you guys want to do. So based at our work session, you guys had directed me to draft up an ordinance, which I do have started. I have it drafted. I just have been going through trying to pick it apart a little bit to see, make sure it's what I want to bring to you guys, and then we'll talk about that some more.
do you see costs increasing exponentially and with that, or?
So our contract expires with Stevens next year. So we're locked in at least until, yeah. I did talk to Stevens and I've talked to a couple of companies, but if we continue to stay with the bag tags, they are going to be going up. The exact amount I do not know. I got the impression a couple dollars per 10.
But you're also then throw into it, urban forestry, right, which is these guys collecting same potential crap, right, that,
Well, they're
Yeah,
collecting
also like-
brush and then we do, and the leaves and
Yeah.
things.
which isn't cheap, obviously, we've learned that. the last
Yeah, and
years
that's in
recently, so-
general fund and we can talk about that too.
So again, yes, we could see some potential fluctuations between a lower on the general fund and a much higher here in the garbage.
Yes. Yeah, and it's really gonna depend what we end up doing with that. I mean, it could drastically
But you're
change
saying
that.
part for the course of the next year.
Yes. Because my recommendation, and I mean, we could do have a clause to terminate with notice, but I would like to see us finish that out. It gives, and really, we
Especially
need the
for-
time to get all of our ducks in a row.
For the increase that they're proposing, absolutely, let's get one where you're at.
Yeah. So moving on to Parks and Recreation, which is in your packet, P&R. Okay, so this fund is, I would say, the actual recreation programs, not a lot of changes. I am proposing that we move the pool to this budget. So the first year is gonna be a little bit weird. If you guys want to do this, you can also tell me no. Having it in general fund is not wrong. This is something, we talked about this before. I think you guys talked about it before I was here, and then we mentioned it after I started, and I was really new, so I just was like, well, let's just do this for now and not really make too many changes until I had a better handle on things. I think the pool fits better in Parks and Recreation and makes more sense there. But again, it's not necessarily wrong in general fund either. I talked to,
The chance to look at your previous year.
Okay.
Once you get through 3 years.
Yeah,
we'll look at
once-
that,
yes, which we had this problem with the chart of account conversion too, because the Parks and Rec Fund number changed from 508 to 208 and building changed from 2 to 5. But I guess a couple things, so revenues, the change you would see here would be adding the pool sale revenues where because we're moving the pool, the revenue would come here instead of general fund, obviously. And we know it doesn't cover all expenses, but it does help offset it. And then the other thing is we would have a transfer from general fund. I have 200,000 and we can talk about this a little bit here and general fund both. We would need to transfer in money to offset the difference of the pool. Additionally, the pool has some restricted funds that if we move this, we would have to move those restricted funds from general fund to the Parks and Rec fund because they're specifically, it's the Bailey fund, so they're specifically designated for pool operations. So right now, we have that money budgeted this year. No, we didn't have a specific project. We were going to carry it forward for future maintenance, but we'd have to move that. So that's why it's the 200,000. Again, we've got a small amount for council, and this is you oversee the budget, the audit, ordinances. The Parks and Rec Board is an advisory board to you, so they have no authority for like final decisions. It comes to you guys. We have the DPW department for things that they do, like striping the soccer fields or hanging banners, putting barricades for 3-on-3, things like that. And then our recreation fund, which would remain separate. So this is going to be our actual program expenses. So this is going to be Emilio's wages. This is going to be our 3-on-3, our spring and fall soccer. And we break those down by program and or event. And then there's some additional things here too, office supplies. But again, not a ton of changes to this part. And if you guys have questions, let me know. So then I'm proposing we add a pool department within this fund. And I know it's hard to see this, but the pool itself does not have a lot of changes from this year's expenses to next year when you're looking at our actual operating. Where I want to talk about things a little bit is the capital projects. So I already talked about those donated funds of 38,845. Again, we budgeted that this year because we have to track those restricted funds. We would have to transfer that over. So even if we're not planning to use those funds, we need to put it over here as a restricted balance. That being said, I actually would recommend that we use those to potentially apply it towards the liner. But we've listed the capital projects, or I've listed them here. This current year, we wanted to start building out a future maintenance fund. It's got 25,000, or I'm sorry, that's not correct. This year we should have notated this, I'm gonna have to jump.
Last 2 years, never.
Didn't we do 15 or something?
Because that's after the pump issue, once the pump went down, we didn't really have that, so we're trying to pre-plan for future maintenance.
Right.
I thought we were more than that.
I think it was 12,500. So I'll pull that exact amount, but either way, we're requesting 25, which would be adding some money to the future fund. Again, we can continue doing that, or we could apply it towards, I'm saying the liner, because that's our number one priority. I had so it's line 117 in the PNR.
That's held from last year's budget, right? Correct, because we both set that aside saying.
Right.
We need to start setting aside forward. We knew the liner was coming. This is hopefully something for the future, right? I mean, it's done every year, but we're not trying to scramble. Where's the other 200 that you're transferring in from the general fund, or is that?
So it's recorded in revenue. So that 200 is just to offset, it is to cover operating expenses and the restricted funds that we have to account for. If we want to fund any of these capital projects, we would need to increase the transfer from general fund to cover these costs.
And this is where I'm starting to question, again, the pullback of transfer from general fund, transfer from general fund. We cannot continue to do that. It's just,
Well,
times are tight. It's-
you're paying for this in general fund now.
Right.
All I'm asking is that we record it under Parks and Recreation, so you're not, it is a transfer now where it, right. It's just one transfer from general fund instead of,
but
and
it's
this
very
is a big
expensive.
reason why I want to do this, because it, right now, general fund is, there's a lot to it, so this would, as we build the history, give you a very clear, what are we paying from general fund to support the pool?
Whereas before,
It's there, I can tell, but it's kind of buried, it's not as identifiable, especially for people who don't look at our budget as much. So I guess talking about capital, if we're gonna fund here, I'm then gonna have to go to general fund and increase that transfer to the recreation to cover these capital projects. We had a flagpole requested for 3,300 to put out at the pool. It's up to you guys. We have a fence around the overflow grate at the pool. This was something that was identified that we should do.
Talked about
From,
this last year.
yeah, we did talk, and we didn't fund it.
Sorry, don't walk over there. Don't need that. That's.
And then the pool liner, which I'm saying is our most important priority. So I sent you guys quite a bit of information on this in a few of my weekly summaries. The last 2 years, we have done patches. This current year before opening season, we did some pretty substantial patches. I sent you guys quite a few photos. We did that to get us through this season. We already have spots now, and we still have part of our season coming through. It is completely safe, but we need to do something with this, or we're going to continue patching. And we're going to every year spend more and more money on patches to get us through the season. So we're really just band-aiding the problem. There are various versions of liner that we can do, ranging from 75,000 to 260. Now you're ranging in life expectancy and warranty as well. So 75,000 life expectancy is 5 years. 150 is 5 to 10 years. 260 gets us 25 to 30 with a 25-year warranty. So it is a higher upfront cost, but long-term is a cheaper option. So if you guys are saying we are not going to do the 260, we could look at one of the lower options, but no, in 5 to 10 years, depending which option you fix, we're going to be doing this again.
well, with the pool liner, the 260, if you took your donated funds, obviously, take that quickly, and then this year for the future maintenance, take that on top of it. That would take care of approximately 60,000, and then we'd have the 200,000 of cost for the pool line.
On top, but that's on top of the 200 that we're already. Just operating. So you would need 460, right?
So I've already budgeted the transfer of the restricted 38,845. So if we were going to fund the full 260, and my recommendation would be to use that, then we would need to budget, and that would be taking what we budgeted this year for the maintenance too, 221,155. So I would just say 221,200 to do the pool liner, and you would need to increase that transfer from general fund by 221,120. So it would be $420,120 from general fund.
That is.
And we
That is-
can come back to this in general fund, but I want you to be very aware of that now. Because that is a project that again, I mean, I don't know, what do you think, could we patch it next year?
It's all beyond patch and, it's been things so many times, it's more to the concrete.
And the life expectancy on the liner we have now is 5 years, and we are in season 6 right now.
March is probably finished. So I'll be sprayed back on, so that whole pool has to be stripped down, all the way down. We'll strip all the smart side off of it, prep it, and respray it.
And
then-
then
and
you
then-
rip down to the shotcrete.
Back down to the shop, correct, and then all, they gotta chisel it all the way, and then they gotta clean it all the way around, all
The
tile, all
tiles.
the tile have to stay. They'll redo the tile, regrout the tile, redo it, and then it's gotta be filled back with water instead again. So if they do it in the fall, that will gotta be pushed back full of water for. There's all
Yeah,
years
and-
underwater.
Any of the treatments required to cure, I think all of them required.
And like I said, that pool, if you remember when they did it, we started it back up in October, ran it all October. So it cured, and we pumped it back down and winterized it. We set a whole year. No one swimming in it. It was wind.
So looking at the pool, you're at 157,000 operations. No improvements at all. You take out the donations and the 45.5 revenue, right?
I can't see what they're saying.
Sorry. The operations for the pool is $157,000.
It's 202,700.
What were you guys looking, give me a line number.
Well, it's a lot of, it's the, it would be the pool fund minus the donated restricted funds.
And minus revenue.
Are we in Parks and Rec there?
Oh, you're minusing, yes, I
Sorry, yeah,
apologize.
Parks and Rec, sorry.
Parks and Rec,
Yeah,
okay.
under pool, your totals are.
I'm with you.
So it starts on page 2. And goes to 3.
Yeah, so it's 157,700.
Again. Sorry, guys, but we're talking about. Things that the community needs, the community as a whole need. These are. Way more expensive than, we're looking at almost $200,000 parking lot for Little League, right? Like sooner or later, something has got to give, and the people of this town, yes, we bonded to build that pool. I don't think anyone in our right minds, again, I asked what's gonna cost us to operate $157,000 a year. It's unsustainable. I don't think you find any small community like us that can afford to spend that much on top of a $260,000 liner, on top of $20,000 pumps, on top of everything else that this thing is costing us.
What do you want to do, pools are up?
I don't know, but
That is not.
it is an option. It's absolutely an option. We're still paying off, debt. We're still paying off debt on top of this.
You go, come on, now. You go to the residents and say, oh yeah, here's your bond.
No,
We're gonna close the pool, but we're gonna pay on the bond and we're gonna.
we're doing that right now with water and sewer anyway. Because we have that sludge building, right, that's sitting there that we're paying off still from 2014, that's what some of those bonds are, right?
I don't know what those
Yeah, I
bonds
think that's what-
are,
That's what
that,
we're literally doing nothing for it. So again, good money after bad. It's unsustainable for us to say, we want to put a roof on the park pavilion, or we want to do this stuff, right? We can't afford to build a $200,000 parking lot for Little League. We can't afford to spend $66,000 at Bachmeyer Park. I'm sorry, it's just unsustainable. It's not realistic. We can't spend $260,000 on another liner when we built that pool in 2018. On top of paying off the debt, a bond, on top of the operational costs. It's just, we have to come up with something different.
I don't know what that something different is. Besides closing it, and then it's not, that's gonna go over like a. I'm not saying you're wrong with the money, we know this, we've been having this discussion since the day.
Yeah, yes. Again, if we're taking this massive chunk out of the general fund, no, the general fund is way too important. That is the safety and the well-being of the operations of the village. Pool, a town pool, it's nice, it's a luxury, sorry, it's a luxury. Shame on some of us that, voted for it. Well, we have to come to it, we have to be realistic with the public and say, do you really want to spend $450,000 this year to operate a town? Is that money well spent? Brent, I think you probably shake your head. I know you don't want to, but you know how much. You know what pain in the butt that is, right? You know how much we're putting that, you know the maintenance on it. You guys do all that out there.
Well, I'll agree with you too, Mike, so that Brent's not on the spot. I agree with you. The maintenance is expensive, but the voters, I mean, we have the
But then-
pool. We're,
But they, again, they
So,
want us to do
we
something.
either let it deteriorate and we close it, or we maintain what we have.
Again, did you,
I
I'm
mean,
not sure if you did any research or not, but can we bond for operations on that and then let the people decide? Spread it across the entire town, much like the rest of the stuff. If the town pays for everything, maybe pay $0.25 maybe pay $0.5 and that goes to pool operations. Because we're certainly not making enough money on,
you can put that to the voters,
yeah.
but you're,
but we're not making.
if
enough.
it were to like, let's say we have a millage specifically for operations, it can only be used for that. And I think that's why the chart was requested, but that would have to go to the voters for
That is exactly
operation.
why I asked for that chart, because we're making not even.
But you're still increasing, so
That is food, that is memberships, right? You got 8,000 food, you got 45,000 in memberships or whatever, that's barely covering a third of the operations to have that pool. Right,
yes.
on top of paying off a bond, on top of putting in a new liner because the stupid thing is falling. On top of
Well,
maintenance of plants and
go back to,
everything else.
go back to the liner, okay? Look at that. When the liner was determined, when another group of people were here, that liner was not finished because they went too bad way on.
Well, that's because
So they did,
Yeah,
so they
yeah.
went the cheaper route, and now time is big.
Yeah.
It's done, it's a job, 5 years, it's on year 6, it's done, it's a job. So you can go, I'm not saying you're wrong on any of this, I'm just saying there's other parts of the story as well.
there absolutely are, yeah. What did we lose? We had to come up with another 200,000, put a second course on the parking lot, right? Because we could only afford to do one. We lost the steel roof, we lost the cupola, we lost some of the elements, right?
How much did you say? For the parking lot?
That's fine.
The second course on that?
Yeah.
What was it? I don't know.
I think it was like 48,000 if I wasn't, what he meant the pool, but I just want to make sure that, because I think you said 100 on that. I mean, I'm not saying it was nothing,
And
but
that was also, well, that was donated fund, that was through the.
yeah, the donated funds did pay for that.
Yeah, otherwise we'd sit here with, twirling our thumbs,
How to take,
how we pay for the parking lot.
again.
And it'll have to be resealed again in 20 years.
Route in the
No,
beginning.
that wasn't the cheap route, it's what they can afford to do.
You can't go back to the when it's here, it's here now.
I think we should let the public decide, again. Put a mill out, put a millage out, put a bond out, if you want to operate the pool. Vote for it, but don't complain about paying for it. But if we're talking about
So that's what you're saying.
wages for, if we're talking about wages for, staff increases, or if we're gonna talk about cutting other staff potentially, down the line. I'll tell you what, I'd much rather have a police officer on the street than a flipping town pool.
How much money do we save by shifting the library responsibility off on the library?
So we were,
300 grand?
yes, last year or this current fiscal year, we funded them at 175. Plus, we did carry some funding for the roof, but that was really budgeted the year before.
So much about the January, February, right?
Right, it was, but it's still this current fiscal year. The year before that, it was 300,000.
But this year was,
And each year was, I mean, a percentage less than that, but right around, I think.
248.
240, yeah.
280 something was the year previous to that. So we're already going, I mean, I'm not saying that we have shifted it from one place to another, but we kind of. We did that in an effort to be able to use that money for other things. I'm not saying that it's right to shift it all over the pool, but. You do have that money available that we wouldn't have had if we weren't able to do that with the library. Unfortunately, the voters supported the library as they did with the pool when it was voted on.
right, But the residents are paying, again, at 1.25 mils, and I don't wanna see it just swallowed up, you know what I mean? And I certainly don't wanna see it just cover me, I'm full of a pool, unfortunately, you know?
If you spread that money out $175,000, $225,000 a year, that's, in 10 years, that's almost $2 million. That goes a long ways towards helping the pool and other projects. We got a bridge we're probably gonna have to replace in a few years, if we, unless something happens with that road to change that around, and I think that's probably the best avenue for that. Is when that happens with 223, is that the bridge is reintegrated back into that main bridge over the river. So there's things there that we'll need to consider down the road. The legacy costs of any project that we do, such as the pool, such as other buildings, we've now, in the past half dozen years or more, started to realize that that is what costs the village the most money, is the legacy cost of all the projects. And we talked about it at the very beginning of our meeting of the quality of life that we have in our village. And we need to support that in the best way that we can. And we're trying to, I think. I think we're all on board with that.
Yes. But at what cost?
Exactly.
Right, again, not trying to change here, but go back to the general fund. You know, the Boy Scout cabin, why is that the village? Why is it not the Boy Scouts? Right? Why? You know, why are we funding so much in Little League? I'm sorry, but the demand of the public is true and bad. And if they want to do it, then we have to take the luxury cuts. And I'm sorry. Little League is great experience, etc. But it sure doesn't spread the wealth across the entire town, right? And look at what we're looking at on some of these little line items and how much they cost us. It did.
I don't disagree with you. I think these are hard conversations to have. I have no clue why we funded that Boy Scout building. That's a perfect example. I will tell you, you close that pool, you will make my day because it is a pain in the butt. That being said, it is a great asset for our community. People love it.
Yes.
We are paying a bond on it. I don't think closing it is the smartest thing. So if we're not going to close it, we need to maintain it. It's because what's going to happen is if we don't maintain it, we're gonna be 5 years down the road paying far more than what we're proposing today because we're gonna be so much worse than we are. I mean, I don't know.
You're saying we have to go back to the shock rate and take all that liner out, right? Go back to literally the shell of the
The
pool.
gentleman that does be from B&B pools that put it in, that's, he said
Then
we gotta
That's,
take it all.
yeah, I talked to two, we
So you
talked to
gotta
them
clean
and
it all
another
off,
company.
all the way through.
all the way down to the concrete.
Yes.
What if that's cracked or, I mean, do we know what?
Well, that'll be our, that doesn't affect them, that is, I don't know about that.
We wanted to take.
Well, a lot of that was uncovered in the concrete. What we could see did not look bad. It's the liner. And they have to remove that. Otherwise, we run the risk of what they put on top of it's gonna start breaking because the liner below it's not good.
It's all gotta be, there no one's gonna come in there, but
It's
our
too
side
big
on
of a
top of
pool,
that.
right? We tried to have aerobics, we never ever got an aerobics truck, right?
And
So
they'll
there's
leave
no
all,
offset costs there.
they'll leave all anything that's tile will stay, unless it's loose, then they'll have to fix it. And all the tiles gotta be regrouted. If you go down there and look and see all the grouts coming out of tile.
Eric made it, I thought, a good point, obviously with the library thing. Yeah, I'm just trying to make it palatable. I don't think anybody here agrees with the cost factor and all the things that you stated. For our residents. We do have that money through the library to look at it in that way. The other thing is that.
But what did you want to do with that library? That's right, a lot of the infrastructure.
It is not, hang on, this is not what I wanted to do with money. I will totally agree with you. However, bond issue makes an obvious big case for this. If we went with the 200, now we don't have to go with 260, we can go with something cheaper. But
We're gonna do it again.
so let me just, again, try to make it more palatable. We do this, and we're not gonna have 260,000 next year. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna happen in 26, 27. I don't like this either. But at this time, it just seems like the smarter choice at this time. I'm not saying that you're talking, like your taxpayer, your village thought, I think it's, I understand the thought behind it. I don't know where we go from there. I think they're, you know, the flip side of the coin is that, oh my God, we're, you know, paying this much for the village, paying this much now for the library, and now we want this much more for the pool itself. And we're supposed to go ahead and say, well, we'll take care of the pool. This is our responsibility. We are responding to it. I don't see us reneging on that. I just don't. Again, it's not what I want to happen. But I think it's a necessary evil right now. That, and I'm saying some of that to make myself feel better.
No, I get it.
You know,
And I agree with both of you. It's like a kind of a catch 22.
I mean, if the entire town paid half a mil, you're very close to where you're at with food. And memberships, right? And then anybody in town comes to them day, night, anytime they're over, you know, anytime that pool's open, they don't have to pay, they come in. And then people from out of town, you don't want to offset it too much, so people will stop coming. But they're gonna have to pay their fair share too. Again, we didn't build that thing. We're not paying for it as taxpayers to have people from every other town come in and use it either, so.
Okay,
Those rates need to go up.
but I don't disagree with the outsider rates and looking at that, and that's something when we look at the fee schedule, I was gonna specifically talk to you guys about. That being said, I don't think we want them so high that people stop coming, because then we're not really helping ourselves. So I just want to make sure though that so we charge membership fees right now, and we're projecting 45,000 in revenue. We had a really good year this year. I think we're probably going to end at about 58, which is good. But I don't know, Tecumseh's pool's closed this year, next year it'll be open, and that's why we've projected 45. So what you're doing is, instead of revenuing fees and membership costs, you're revenuing a millage. So it doesn't change your expenses. All you're doing is changing your revenue source. So you're just transferring it from membership fees to a set millage. It doesn't, so I'm not sure there's a benefit to
because
that.
the people would still be, or they'd be coming in for free.
Right, unless you're charging a higher millage, then, okay,
I was just saying that half a mil is sort of a break.
okay, okay, I thought you were
No,
proposing, because I'm like, that's not, I don't know that, okay.
No, it needs to be something higher.
And I'm not sure, so then the question to you guys is, do you want to ask the taxpayer to raise taxes?
But that gives them the choice. They voted for it. Yes, we didn't know the operation costs, and I sure as heck wish we had.
I do, but
They could
it
decide.
gives them the choice if they want it on their taxes, but are you fairly and accurately asking them if they want the pool? Because if you're asking me if I want the pool, my answer may be yes, but if you're asking me if I want to be taxed for the operation, my answer may be no.
Well, you're right, but that's the problem with
But-
this town, right? Is they
But that's
want
not a fair
everything
way for you to ask if they want the pool or not.
But if they vote no on the millings, that means they don't want the pool.
No,
But I don't think that's
idea,
fair,
but I'm not gonna
though. I don't think that's a fair assumption, because
No.
that's what I'm saying, like, again, I'm not talking just hypothetically, I could want the pool, and I'd be happy to pay membership fees, but not want to pay a millage. And so that's what I'm saying, I don't think you're getting a fair,
Like on top of the increased taxes that we're gonna be paying for the pool.
no, I'm willing to pay the fee.
To go there and swim.
I want ton of PDA events, but I don't want to pay for them, right? I mean,
But-
that's just.
But I'm just saying, like, they're willing to pay the fee. I mean, so they're not saying they're not gonna pay anything. I'm just saying, I don't think that you're doing, it's not a fair question to them. You're saying to them, like, you either want to pay a millage or you don't get the pool, and that's not really I don't know that that's the question you're asking.
They're gonna say, I'm already paying for the
I can
pool.
say this, ditch the flagpole, and
Yes.
ditch the fence around the pool overflow. I can say that,
Oh, I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
I can say that.
And we, again, I know I keep saying we can talk, when we get to general fund, you guys are gonna have a much better picture of what do we have available to spend? And where are we gonna allocate it? So if we need to leave this highlighted
So,
and come back to it, we can.
Well, unhighlight your flagpole.
Yes, yeah, I've got those.
If the 5-year liner is 75 and the 10-year liner is 150, that's 15 grand each. If your 25-year liner is 260, that's 10,400 a year over 25 years. At that figure, it would save you $245,000 versus the other two options in 25 years.
And that's why I put in the 260, because again, it's upfront, it is more, but long term.
It's,
And then keep in mind, I'm the 150 price point, the life term was 5 to 10.
and
Yeah, big.
Which really means.
the thing that
Right.
Yeah.
maybe what we need to do is we need to take that 25, if we do approve to put 260 into it. We take that 25 years over the next 25 years and we allocate money specifically for pool liner replacement in our budget.
Did you say that higher price one had the warranty as well?
So the other two do as well. So the 75,000 was 5-year life expectancy, 5-year warranty. The 150,000 was a 5 to 10 year and it was a 5-year warranty. The 260,000 option was 25 to 30 years with a 25-year warranty.
And that's why I left the 20, I left them at 5, well, I left them
5, 10
at
and
the
20.
minimum of the warranty. We got 30 years out of it, that'd be
And
great.
going with that, make sure we got a recognizable company with this warranty, because I've seen them already, they're gone. They spray them and they're gone, the company's out.
And we'll-
Then you're left there holding it, so when you're bidding on someone's hired, and they've been here doing it. And they're gonna back it up, and like I said, all the more to make sure you read the fine print on this. This is an outside pool, this is Michigan.
And that's, we would talk about that when we
There's
actually
fine
award
print.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fine print, you might say that it's 14-year warranty, you read down on it, it might not give you 14.
Yeah, maybe prorated, yeah.
And then the prorate. And then you would, just like a battery, you take it in and you say, well, the warranty didn't cover, but you've already got 6 years out of it, so.
Right.
Keep that in mind,
Yeah, it's something that needs to be looked at too. Greg.
keep that in mind. I'm just saying that 10 years into it, you say, well, the liner failed, they're gonna redo it, that's not probably happening. Okay,
and we have 13 more years to pay that debt off. At $152,000 a year.
Yes.
Well, then it'll all be maybe even out and you can fill it in with dirt and we don't have to look at it again.
Or if you state or-
If we're gonna reline it, if we're gonna reline that thing, make it smaller. You do not need that big of a pool, I'm sorry. Get rid of the aerobic area. We don't need 6 lanes. Heck, we could have
And
had
that's,
one with a school, could have came in.
that's the area
We don't need
that-
an Olympic sized pool.
can't,
Why?
that's not how it works.
you gotta replumb it. All the gutters and everything's gotta be changed. And
Is that cheaper in the long run?
should have been at school, and put a roof on it.
Darn right. Yeah, sure. All those swimming teams that come out here from the school, right, that compete, or Olympic sized pool.
But they knew it was too expensive.
Never put a pool inside a building.
Well,
Okay.
Comes, you learn that lesson. too.
Well, let's get out of this part of the, part of let's come back to it.
Yeah, so we're nearing our 2 hours. Do you guys feel like you can keep going? Do we? Okay. So the next ones are our local and major streets. These funds are fairly status quo.
Hey Danielle, I apologize.
Yes.
Is this the yellow thing by the sand volleyball? Was there some reason for the yellow by? the-
No, that is actually a me thing. I need to give that, we have it combined sand and an indoor volleyball. And next year we're separating those, but I need to pull the account number that's gonna be assigned to that. Thank you.
State park, yeah.
It's in general fund, yeah.
Why is that not?
All of our parks are in general fund. Not, and the reason they're not in Parks and Rec is because they don't have like programs. It's considered a facility. I mean, you could technically, but then your transfer is gonna be even more.
Right, but yeah, like, and yeah, and my head's gonna explode now because now we're talking about a $325,000 skate park,
Yes.
you know, so, come on.
Okay, so we're not there yet,
Seriously,
Mike.
stuff got you.
So local and major street again are pretty much the same. These funds are doing well. That being said, we do a good job of maintaining our streets. I think I would like to see us continue doing that. We need to keep in mind that we have, like we'll have street needs as we dig up water sewer lines. We'll have some needs if we want to do anything with the 223, things like that. So we actually could, and I'm gonna talk about major first. I have a capital projects highlighted. We could budget all of our capital projects, and that actually leaves us with an ending fund balance of $535,073. A 6-month reserve in this account is $90,000, so that is well over our reserves that we would need to have there. So we technically could budget more. The challenge with budgeting more is what we're able to accomplish with the staff and the summer season that we have when paving and things like that can be done. But otherwise, I recommend to budget the capital as it is. If you guys want to make changes to that, we certainly can. Major, yes.
We got some yellows in major you wanna talk about, don't we?
Yeah, I'm recommending to fully fund them, but yes, you guys can,
Okay, fund
you can
yellow.
change that. You can increase it, lower it, do something different. That's why those are highlighted. And Ken had some comments in
Yeah, that's
major,
great.
are you, okay, good, thank you. I just feel bad because we forgot a couple of his. So Major Street, he said, is there an expectation for more money to be spent this coming year for sidewalks, tree removal, salt application? If not, he would be in favor of increasing sidewalks to 20,000, trees to I'm sorry, trees to 3,000
That's the last than what's projected or what's.
and salt 10,000.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. So here's, okay, so.
Oh, so it's a decrease.
A decrease is not free funds.
He does, yeah, because I budgeted 25 for sidewalks. And the reason we budgeted a little bit more there is to try to start doing, you guys want to do some add-on or extensions, plus maintain what we have. The trees at 10,000, because you guys have talked about trying to increase the canopy. And then we typically do the tree removal, and that would allow us to plant some in the right of ways. And then the salt, cold mix and sand is 20,000, and we have spent less than that this year. But it is, we spent less because our winter was less, partially, and we're not fully done yet either, so. I don't want to decrease that because we do have the need for that, and I'd be worried we'd go over budget there.
For what, winter? Winter.
Yeah,
Okay. We're gonna have to dig up all these streets for lead lines, right? So are we gonna have, like in front of my residence, a cut street for, you know what I'm saying? Like how are we gonna do all one street and then go back at later and mill it and be done with it? Are we gonna be hopping around and have
So,
cut
well-
these streets for a couple of years? Like,
we will have to hop around a little bit because if we have something that like we have to dig it up for some reason, we have to replace it then. So there's no way for us to fully avoid the jumping around. That being said, Brent and I have been talking with engineers, and we would like to take the approach of doing a whole street at a time. We think that that makes more sense, and we can knock out, like if we have a water main and then the lead service lines, and just go in and then do the street behind it and not have to do all those
yeah, I
patches.
certainly don't want-
But I certainly don't want to mislead you that that process would eliminate any jumping around, because we will still have that. But that's kind of our approach right now. We're still,
Shouldn't we sit and get the lines fixed before we do any streets, and then we're not tearing up brand new streets that we just built?
I'm paying for that.
That's why we're not, that's why. we're-
Right, that's-
That's why we're like, take the whole street, do the whole road, they're gonna be done, right, that whole, no, happen, unless,
right,
unless something happens, something happens, something breaks.
Okay, so
I was just gonna say, which roads are we talking about? And so this is what you're saying versus the details of this.
because that obviously coincides with our utilities, right? Because we're gonna take some of that out of utilities, we're gonna take some of that out of roads. Right?
yes.
That's all taken into account, okay, you budgeted this year to say, we're gonna kick out South Monroe, we're gonna do lines, and then once that's done, we're gonna mill it. And get it back, closed up, right?
You just do it, just like you did in Northwest Sewer Separation when you were here.
Well, that was a complete rebuild.
That's what the whole is pretty much once you get through. That's the thing, you got sidewalks, you got all that. And
This-
certain
We
ones,
certainly don't pay for that out of this, right? That is a bottomed out. Large scale project, right? It used that process or?
I'm not with you. That's I stuff right now. So you're talking about the roads.
Yeah, I guess.
Fixing up the roads.
Yeah, what roads are we focused on? Are, is this budget encompassing doing all of South Monroe Street? I'm literally gonna dig out all of the bad lead lines and then we're gonna go back and resurface it. Or do we have specific streets that we're just kind of piecemealing based on your, you write about saying, here's on our prioritized list.
what you do for maintenance.
So-
I don't wanna resurface South Monroe and then
Oh, that's.
3 months later go dig a massive trench and it's stone for
That,
the rest of the year.
yeah, that's not what we're trying to do. I mean. That being said, we could go repave a road and a gas line could break and they
Yes,
dig it
but
up.
that's different
So,
than knowing.
but we're not, that's why we're meeting with engineers and we look at this. So, but. We have to keep the roads maintained too. We can't be, because this is reality, we can't afford to go do all the water and sewer lines that we need to tomorrow. So it may be 10 years down the road. Well, I've got to keep that road in good shape until we replace that water main in 10 years. So we have to
That's a
budget
full rebuild.
to maintain that and take care of it until then. So that's what this money is for. And then when we get to water and sewer, like I have some recommendations that we budget for some infrastructure projects so that we can do a project like go replace the water main on South Monroe and the street. Because the sewer over there we think is good. We would go video that and there's a lot of moving parts to that, but that's what we're talking about. It's a
Have
combination.
this already. Figured out. You've got to be.
Yes.
The
And
money is
Mike is saying,
maintenance, like,
I'm looking to see the game.
like gas or street, like we're doing now, gas or what, so you can maintain that for them residents. So they might not get their stuff done for 20 years, you can't just leave the street go, so that's to maintain the other streets, we're not paving those streets. That's gonna be, like in the bullseye of getting infrastructure done, that's
Right.
why it bounced around. It's more than just we're just going out and find them, so some streets might jump ahead of the other ones, is because you still gotta have something decently. You can't put all your money over here, and then these people over here have nothing, their streets are terrible, but you don't have no money. That's what some towns do, and if you go to some of them, you'll see it. If you drive through ours, they're pretty good streets.
Absolutely.
But so
Yes.
much,
We
but
want
you
to
gotta,
maintain
you
what
gotta
we got.
do, so that's just maintaining.
Yeah.
That's not rebuilding, it's
That would be
maintaining what you got.
But even Victory that doesn't have a curb or something like that, I don't wanna bill it and, but
But
a
that-
half overlay. This summer,
But asphalt.
and then you go into November and be like, hey, we're gonna cut.
No,
five
that's
of
not
these.
gonna happen.
Yeah, that's not how we,
That's not.
yeah.
Yeah,
Cause
okay, that's
that's,
not
I mean, a street in a town is 20 years, you get 20 years out of an asphalt street, that's good.
Absolutely,
And we've been easily getting over 20 years. Like,
yeah, we pride ourselves on it.
So
Our
maintain
streets are very good.
So we are working on a plan that it'll have to be a little bit fluid for that we can share with you with the engineers. We've gone through the street And we've gone through all of the lead service lines and we have it all separate. We're trying to merge it. But it takes a lot of time to do this and it's hard because it changes. So it is a little bit moving because like Brent said, we want to maintain as well. So sometimes a street, it'll be okay, but we maybe, and we think we're gonna rebuild this or, you know, when we do the water main and then we find out, okay, we can't do the water project for 5 more years. Well, we're not gonna do nothing to that street. So then it kind of moves up and we say, okay, we're gonna do a mill and fill, or we're gonna do some more crack fill, or whatever that application may be to keep it in good condition for those next 5 years. But we are working through that with engineers to try to build all of that out. Same with sidewalks, that plan is, we've got our inventory and I'm working on the actual like plan and policy to go with that. But these things, it just takes a while to do that stuff.
Talking about the sidewalk specifically, so in 24-25, we put away the 20 grand. Okay, and then, this year we got the 25. Did we spend that 20,000 in sidewalks in 24-25, or is that money put back for sidewalks? And the same thing here, it's found that same question, is the 25 that is being requested, is that being utilized then this year, or is that put towards a fund?
So this year we did actually, the sidewalks came in a little bit less, so we spent about 15,000 in major, right,
Okay.
this year.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit that would be, I mean, you're reappropriating it, but we're asking for 25 next year to do a little bit more than we did this year.
Okay, this year we didn't do anything new, correct, Brent? We just went ahead and replaced.
Yes.
They can change it.
Not gonna guess anything.
I was gonna say, that's not gonna give us anything new. So can we take a look at?
I mean, you want to do new, like, I don't know. Okay,
Yeah,
this is a challenge for me because every time you guys talk about new, we get tons of people that come in and call and they're like, I don't want sidewalks in front of my house that don't have it now. So you guys are going to have to commit. If you want us to do new, then we can do that. And you are talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're not talking another $20,000.
okay, give me, I mean, seriously, talk.
Seriously, I would say if you're wanting to do new, I
Both like your house out.
Okay,
yes.
and I'm gonna be very honest and very selfish sounding on this. The safety of that, of going
Right,
from
same.
out there on Blissfield Highway, I am advocating for that space. And I knew it wasn't gonna be 25,000, but I didn't realize it 350,000.
That's what,
But
that has been the mentality of not just this council, but from the Franklin Street project, when we had people complaining about that, from
Yeah.
Gassner, et cetera, when somehow Farmer didn't, didn't have it on the front of the, it has been constant.
And I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying, I want you guys to know that if we're gonna do sidewalks and you guys really want us to focus on new, we can do that, but then I don't wanna put the work in and then you say, well, people don't want them, so we're not gonna do it. And I think that's why sidewalks has been a little bit of a challenge for us because a lot of people that don't have sidewalks now don't want that.
I just wanted that strip down North Road, make it safe. Get from the heights down there to Nine's house. I just want it safe there for all the kids and the bikers.
No, I get what,
Kids
yeah.
don't use them, they drive these motor things down the street, I mean.
Well, I walk the dog. We do have dog walkers down. Anyhow, okay, I understand. Thank you
That's
for
a double-edged sword, we're gonna
No, I
get shot in the
understand.
foot, people want sidewalks, but they certainly don't want to pay for them, right?
It's a lot of money. Well, from a safety aspect out there in particular.
I get it.
You know,
I totally get it. I totally get it. And it's curved too, so.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But to what Gwen's saying is, yes, we've talked about this for 5 years, we wanna see infill, right? And we have not done infill, so either let's
When
do
you
it,
say info,
or let's shut up about it and move on, right? Because that was part of the plan, it was being sidewalks out to Westbrook, sidewalks out to Slankers, sidewalks out wherever. But we're not doing it, right? We talk about it every year, but we don't do any infill. We have,
But maybe that's something that we can have now, so maybe we can put X amount of money towards it.
We've asked for, you know, the curb cuts, obviously curb cuts are replaced, you know, yes, we replaced some curb. But, you know,
I'll
it's
just throw this
just not
out.
the way forward to do it. what
I'll
we
just
know.
throw this out, Danielle, is this appropriate or not appropriate, just give me your honest opinion. Can we go ahead, I'm just throwing numbers out, 50 grand, then looking at the, fund balance, could we take, let's just take that 35,000 that's there, so it'll be even 50,000 or 500,000. Take that 35,000 and can we earmark that towards new sidewalks, what is that word?
The infill,
Infill.
but that's not maintained, you know, we have, so that both help are,
That 25,000 could still go ahead and maintain. I'm
all
saying,
you're saying bump it up.
I'm saying bump it up, but taking 35,000 and earmarking it towards that infill project. See what I'm saying? Putting it to the side.
So you want to do 55,000?
So
So it would be 60,000
It would
if she wants to.
to
All right, put it back.
60,000 for sidewalk, but a certain amount being earmarked towards new. And wherever that new would be, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but then where does that come from? Comes from the general fund,
It
right?
comes from the
It comes-
ending.
No.
It comes from the ending fund balance of the
Oh,
general.
you want,
fund.
oh, you
This
want to
section.
spend done with,
Well, because look, we got. I'm
how many millions of dollars are we paying for our lead lines in our streets though, right?
But you
Millions.
can't fund that from
No,
your,
but the service is gonna be. how
oh
much?
yeah, I'm sure it's,
well, that comes from this fund.
well, the street portion, yes.
Hate your hand low.
Well, okay.
No,
so-
no, I agree.
So I want I want your administrative opinion on the sidewalk. Seriously, I do. What is your administrative opinion? Be honest.
I for sure would maintain what we have for
Sure.
existing sidewalk
Yes.
and curb and stuff like that. Honestly, the new, I don't know that it would be my priority. My priority would be maintaining the streets and having a fund balance for large, big projects.
Okay.
So if we had to bond, you could do a bond for water and sewer and not streets. So maybe you can pay it off faster, do some different things. That would be my recommendation, but I don't know. To me, I'd rather have the streets than the
Okay. No,
sidewalk.
I asked, you answered. So I need to know.
I mean, but it's up to the residents
But
and
a
to you
developer comes
guys.
in, or it states they have to do those in those sidewalks, right? When the
Yes.
residences built or the businesses built or whatever. That is in our ordinance. that-
Well, it's not built, it's not worded that way. It's when it's developed and they're supposed to put it in at that time. Now they can
No, it's.
like put in a
Because-
phased approach or something where as they build, it's built out then.
It should be at completion because that's what the developers were putting in sidewalks and then. The homes are being built or the sidewalks are being destroyed and we're double paying, taking a rebuild, right? So the intention of that ordinance was. When that property is developed, the sidewalk goes in. That cover is supposed to be maintaining that ordinance or holding that ordinance.
Yeah, I just don't think we've had any like major developments.
But I agree, it's.
But it is in there.
these Major streets like Monroe or Lane
Yes.
that don't have this stuff, and I get that. But yeah, we need to stick to our guns either way, right?
Well, I would say like
Okay, well, if we were there,
in the heights, there are no sidewalks in the heights and nobody wants the sidewalks in the heights.
Right.
But they do want sidewalks to go from the heights into town. That has been a request. Because of course.
I mean, and you guys have a sidewalk plan where for infill, you have a map that identifies all of your infill and I can resend that to you and maybe what. You guys need to do is talk to residents or get feedback and say, okay, we're not gonna infill everywhere, but we're going to infill. These major or higher traffic streets. I don't wanna call them major because we have major and local and we're gonna talk about local next. So you guys, when we're talking streets. Make sure you're remembering that too, that we have two funds for the street that are really all village streets. But maybe we need to be a more focused approach to sidewalk infill instead of just all sidewalk infill. Cause that map right now says it's sidewalk infill is from South Monroe and in the Blissfield Heights subdivision. You're saying, and I agree with you, the feedback from that area is we don't want sidewalks, so maybe that's not maybe that's removed, but South Monroe isn't. But
Exactly.
I think this is where we haven't done anything, cause it's been so,
Inconsistent.
yes,
And
thank
it's a
you.
major. So it have to go in that fund.
Correct, and that's the other thing to keep in mind, so. We budget major and local, and depending on what that street is, and I can resend this map, and it's a question, and I'll get back to Ken on it, but. For the newer council members too, and just to make sure everybody understands. We do get funding, through Act 51 monies, and through the state of Michigan every year, we have to certify our streets, what are major and local, and that gets approved by MDOT and the state. So we can only use major funds on major streets and local on local. And I'll send you guys a map so you know what those are, but major streets are streets like Monroe, Lane, Gibson. Yeah, it's really typically like our main kind of through town, or, yeah, it's the side streets are local.
Very small parts of sugar. I'm sorry. big, that kinds of better.
Oh, yeah, there
Small
is a
parts.
little, but I would say most of our
I
like
did tell
through
you something more
streets.
So that is basically your major street.
Coming in and out of town.
Yeah,
Um,
and again, I can send that map to you guys if you want it, but
I just had a concrete guy email me, actually, he said 260,000 will build a sidewalk out here.
well, it's better than the 350, but
Yeah.
it's still 260.
My point, 260 towards a pool,
But-
right, you know what I'm saying, so again, these are.
But we gotta make
these
sure
are
that
things
it's gonna
that we
be.
have to
But
decide
it's different
whether-
funds.
But
You
you said
can't
that you-
use this
I-
money
I-
for,
But you know what I'm
Just like
saying,
that
that's
there, but you're gonna still got surveyors and stuff, that them sidewalks that be put on property line and stuff, they just can't be ran. So someone's gonna have to pay to survey all that.
It's gonna be.
So, right, I mean, you wanna go across your property, and it's gotta be on the property line.
Yep.
And then all the water boxes, things that it goes over, so that you move, all the gas valves. There's
Well,
certain things
like,
that- and all the
there's
stuff you're gonna
that
have to-
one house has
It's
beautiful
not just like-
landscaping or ditches that are over.
Right, and you're gonna have to have some level, so there's gonna be fill and level, you can't have water pooling on them, so someone
Well,
falls.
you wouldn't have to plow, would you, right?
And all your crosswalks are gonna have to be cut back in on every street. So it's not just like you're gonna lay them in, it's a lot.
And you have to have ADA ramps at the intersections now.
Watch the ditch, gotta keep walking the ditch.
So going to 62 to 500,000.
If we do the approach, we have been. Yeah, we did one last year. We didn't this current year, but last year we did.
Yeah.
But we haven't done a ton of new sidewalk approaches.
All right.
Okay, so I did bump that to 60. Do you want me to do that, or are we leaving it at the 25, or are we reducing?
I remember that.
Okay.
My one five.
So local street,
Well, I really want 60, but I know I can't do it, so.
so again, this fund it's not as healthy as major. We have more local streets than we do major, which is why. But it's doing good. We could fund all of the capital, which are highlighted. The other item that I want to talk to you guys about here is we do a transfer from general fund to help with this fund. And historically have done 375,000 outside of a couple years. So the very first year that I came to the village, we did a transfer of 120,000. We reduced it because of some challenges with general fund that year. Another year we did 200,000. We can change that. I put the 375 because again, kind of historically, that's been the mark we've tried to maintain. If you fully fund the projects that I have highlighted with the 375, you have we have 225,962 fund balance. Which is well over the 6-month reserve. And this is another fund. There's no recommendation by the auditors. It's really what you guys want. My recommendation for these funds is 6 months because it's expensive to replace infrastructure. And that can go really quickly, but we can look at if you reduce the 375, you'd reduce it in general fund. I'm not saying you should do that. It is an option. And then you guys can look at any of these capital projects that are highlighted and let me know if you want to do something different here. And this is higher funding in roads because we have more of them, is why it's 600 instead of the 400 that's in major. Otherwise, it's almost the exact same thing. It's just we're looking at the local streets instead of those major.
You can have a comment on these as well.
It was very similar to the major street. He said, is there an actually the exact same comment? Is there an expectation for more money to be spent? If not, trees to 5,000, salt to 12,000.
You want to reduce.
Yes.
Way underfunded our urban forestry. Our urban forestry is covering maintenance. And I know it's 1994 or whatever that they did that study. We don't spend enough on keeping our urban forest up. Sorry.
That's another one.
What traffic signals do we have on our local streets? Why do we pay 8,500 traffic signal electric? Or is that, I'm sorry, 130?
Line 130 is our payment to the railroad. It's required under state law for that's our portion because they're in our municipality.
Or Maple Street and.
So it depends on the type of signal that they have at the railroad. We pay for the arms and the light, it's more expensive compared to just the light, but we pay gypsum, lane,
Quick.
Lane would be major.
quick.
You still have to pay for maintenance.
No, it's just a.
What about that light that's there though?
Crossing there, yeah.
It's usually a street.
But that would be local, right?
No, street lights built
That
out of
doesn't
the
run off from
street.
him.
Our
No, it's
local,
ran out of street lighting.
our local is 8,500, our major is 5,000. That just seems. backwards.
Can't change.
Shouldn't pay for
Gypsum?
223, the state should pay for those. Not at Wellsville, there's not.
There's quick,
Gypsum.
Quick has lights now.
and then I'm pretty sure gypsum is local on that side. It's only
There's no
south
lights,
side is
gypsum.
major, north side's local. So the only major is Lane. No, I'm in Monroe. And I don't want to say it out loud. I think they billed us less for Lane because they changed it last year. So really, I think that's gonna go up.
Is there one on
We made a change,
Main
doesn't it?
Street by the stable?
Oh, yeah, there is.
Is there one there?
Oh, no, I
By
call
Main
that
Street by
quick
the
street.
stable?
Oh, it's.
Yeah,
Main
Quick's
and
down
Quick.
further.
Yeah,
Right.
And then you got Maple.
yeah, so Maple, Quick, Main, Gypsum,
Gypsum without lights.
it is, it's still, it's a lower rate, it's still a cross, we pay for all crosses. And if it's the arms, it's higher and just,
The line item specific says traffic signals electric.
you want us, I mean, we can rename that, but that's what it's for, is the railroad
Railroad.
crossings. I mean, it is their traffic signals and it is to offset that's what the way the state statute's written, they can, and it says specifically I can send it to you
You know
guys.
what they have.
Cause it says exactly what the dollar amount is in state law that they can charge,
Main Street has crossing.
so it's higher because it has crossing gates.
Should be reading that. Clarity,
Uh,
yeah, for railroad crossing, whatever fees, right?
I'd like to ask them to come fix some of the little crossing streets. Maybe shoulder,
The bumps.
yeah, come on.
And then go across them like that.
Just, yeah, so 600,000, right? I mean. That's mill, spray patch, crack seal, et cetera. I don't want to mill and then tear them up just to fix the water lines. I guess that's my point.
Yeah, we don't either, because we're gonna look like idiots if we do. That's why we're working on all of that.
Because we said what, 450 water lines, something like that,
400.
400. Think of 400 trenches in our streets across this town. No, I hear it every morning, you know what I mean, so it's just. Now they stop for my pothole in the street from getting my light done, and then they blow the stop sign because they stopped for that trench, which is good enough, I guess. That's what I'm assuming people say, but. If imagine 450 of those on our streets, and now we're spending $1 million on our streets again. You know what I'm saying?
But we got other streets.
I'd
that don't
rather
have-
see one road tore up, the heck,
And that's,
and it's that way for a
That's
year.
what we
and then
wanna do.
Come back and research.
that's why we're concentrating on,
We do.
Okay.
concentrating on the ones that don't have no lead service.
We didn't see we didn't get the RFQs, did we, for this year's, for the projects that we're gonna do?
Yes, bid openings were Thursday last week,
No, but did we
and
see what, I don't even know what
It's-
streets we're doing.
yeah, I sent it to you in your weekly summary 2 weeks ago,
Okay,
3 weeks
yeah.
ago.
But it was in the paper 3 weeks ago, right?
Oh my gosh, you got it 2 days after the paper, Mike.
Well, we used to know what streets we're doing. We're like, oh, well, this stuff, I
But
don't
we-
want to micromanage.
But once again, we don't know, because we're working on a lot of, we don't want to pave streets, so we're moving streets around. You're working with all the other infrastructure underneath to choose what streets you're doing. So we're not easily just to say, this is the street we're gonna do. We gotta know what the infrastructure is. So if you got a street that's maybe that is a 4, but yours is a 6, and you wanna keep things up, we might jump to the 6 because there's no lead services or nothing there, and spend the $200,000 and do that street.
Yes.
So that doesn't get dropped back
Right.
on a big project. So your street might not be as good as this one, but we're gonna go back and do that. That is already been thought about. So just to give you a favor and say, that's the street we're gonna do at that date, that probably is not gonna be the best option, or you'll have the one that you're gonna be taking off.
Pick a street, do the lead lines, and destroy the street, I'm sorry, it sits a year as gravel and 27,
Why don't you get the rates
speed
down?
bumps on it, fine, but, let's not,
Good to go.
let's do a method to the madness here.
So you're ready to sign the loans for it, and get a finance, we're ready to go.
You guys want to make any changes to the transfer and or capital projects? Or have any other questions about this fund?
For your local.
Yes, local street. No, I just asked if they changes. Yeah, you can tell them. Yeah, both funds are doing okay and can fully fund capital. I guess to his point, if you're wanting to lower the general fund and transfer a little from major to local, you could, that is another option.
What was that best part?
Or you can leave the full general fund and do a transfer from major. He's saying you can do any combination of that or. But you can transfer up to 50%, he's saying, of the payment to local streets.
What do we think it's cost us to do a service, like average?
So the average is 9,000. So some may be less and more, that is the average cost. Cause it's gonna depend, some of them don't have to cross the street, some of them will have to go all the way across the street. So if we're not crossing, we're probably closer to 6,000. If we're crossing fully, we may be closer to 12.
Is there, I mean, I don't, yeah, I don't want to get off a crazy topic on them. Is there a concentrated area for all of them?
That would be so nice if there was, but not really. We have, they're throughout our community. I will say there are streets with far more. Like our- Yeah, a lot of, like Isles, that whole area. South Monroe's got quite a few of them. But it is throughout, I mean, 223
I would
has
guess not.
a lot, yeah, I mean, so I don't wanna say they're not concentrated, but they're,
But much like we're asking then, you know, if we're gonna do 223, we have to have traffic control, et cetera. Are we gonna do them all at once and destroy the darn street, you know, and get it out of the way? And then pay once to seal it, right? That, I think that's what our biggest questions are why are we hopping around? Say, I'm gonna do the entire Jefferson Street and I'm gonna mill it and pay over it, and then that's in our budget.
We're not hopping around. If you got a broken service, I dig it up. I see there's any chance of steel or lead, it must be replaced on the spot. So it doesn't, we're not going to find these. This is if I go to Mr. Rogers' house and that line is leaking and I physically see lead, I must replace it to the main no matter what. So that's what happens. Any water leak this winter, we dig a water service up, you
Yeah.
see it.
But
That's all you're getting.
That's the oddity. I'm talking about the replacement plan, right?
Right, we're not gonna jump around to a place like that. The ones you're seeing now are the ones that were leaking.
Are the oddities, like you're saying, they're
Yes,
the ones that are
yes.
leaking, and they have to take precedent, because,
Yes.
and that's
Well,
why.
and when I see it, I must replace it, or I can't bear it.
Okay.
Or any I see it, that's what you're supposed to say. So that, it does do that.
well, that's why I said there's
Before we-
no way to avoid that,
But
because
this
if we
budget
see it.
itself is proposing, I'm gonna take street A, and I'm gonna do all of them that I can, right? And then we're gonna come back and mill it.
That's what, like, it's gonna be a big project.
That's the big goal. That's the big umbrella, but it might not realistically happen that way.
But just, you know, $400,000 won't even come close to doing something like Monroe Street like that. It's really,
So what streets are you planning?
but I'm just letting you know, I mean, this money here is just basically to take care of what we have. You're not gonna cover that with $300,000. And you see them.
Do you have specific street planned out, I guess, right? Or no?
We're working,
No.
yes. I think.
I don't wanna say we don't, because we look at, but we have to look at it every year, Mike. It's a moving target, because we are trying to do something. So like if he digs up 4 lead lines and there's 7 on that street now is just dropped a priority for lead service, but we've got to maintain it. So it is a moving target a little bit. Streets and infrastructure is not just, we're going to go do this because something over here will happen. So we cannot tell you year 1, we're going to do Monroe High and and then year 2, we're going to do these streets, because we would never meet that expectation. And that's why this is so hard for, like, we do it. It's like this, and we're not the only municipality that struggles with this, but it's hard to put a formalized plan and say, this is what we're going to do, because we have to every year factor in, where are we having water breaks? Where are we having sewer problems? Where are the lead service lines? What have we been able to replace because we've had to emergency dig it up? How much money do we have? We have 600,000 in local streets, but I can only budget 100,000 in water. Well, 100,000, and I'm making this up right now, 100,000 in water is not going to do squat. So that it's a balancing act for us. That's
I don't want to pay a street and then redig.
we don't either. And we're not doing that. We haven't done that.
Street over on Casner Street, it might be 20 years before you get a chance to get to it.
We have to do it before that. We have to, right? By state requirements, don't we?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to make progress right now that's kind of all up in there with because it changed with Biden and then with Trump administration but right now there is zero enforcement. What they want us to report is that we're making progress. We're doing, I think, what you want, with the exception of we don't have a formal plan that we're handing you saying this is exactly what we're gonna do every year, because every year we have to evaluate it. But we agree with you. We don't want to go pave a street and then have to turn around and dig it up and replace it, because we're just duplicating our work and costing more money.
But at the same token, the street has to be maintained, otherwise.
Right, we gotta maintain all the others,
Yes.
so it's time to do that.
Any other questions on major or local streets? We want to leave it like it is. Any changes? Okay. So the next one is general, but do you guys want to keep going? Do you want to stop and do general tomorrow?
I'd like to
we'll get through what we
That's
can.
You guys.
Okay,
That's-
I'm good with it, so I just don't want to.
And then determine what we want to do.
Okay. So general fund is at the beginning of your packet. It is the longest, so it's GF 1 through, I think it was 15. And we'll just start at the top. I gave you guys the summary too, but revenue, we are seeing, let me get to the right spot here too. We are projecting a little bit higher 1.42 for property taxes. We've had some new construction and property values did increase a little bit this last year. And we're seeing that trend continue. We removed the pool revenue to Parks and Recreation as the other change.
We got property next year projected 1.5, right? So you're projecting 80 plus.
So the reason is when won't pay back number was
Louder.
the reason is when I will say other rules want us to take the DD and take after out of that out. So going forward, the 1.4 streamer that you get that's I think it's 80,000 maybe the DDH yeah, but the DDH is pushing. And it's past we used to take it out the whole thing that one she sits back, the everything grounds maintenance.
So it used to be revenued as property tax and then transferred to DDA. And the auditors don't want us to do that anymore. They want us to account for the property tax for the village and then directly revenue it and not have it be a transfer from the funds. So that's why you're seeing that change there.
That's.
Yes, it still ends up being the same because we would then later expense it out where we're just doing it right in revenues now.
So it's pretty much the same as this year projected.
Correct, yes. And then really I mean, for the most part, our revenues are not really changing too much.
So there's your stabilization share again, right? Or previous EBIT or whatever that he's not sure of what we're getting, but again, that's not going down, right? We're not assuming that's going down.
Yeah, so this is different than, it is the same department that disperses those funds, but they're calculated differently. And those are not right now, they're actually very, very slightly going up on the revenue sharing. So going into expenses, and again, stop me at any point, but council, there's not really much change here. Across the board and recommending a 4% increase, that includes council. So I do want to make sure you guys know that now, and
Is that good now?
Yes.
I apologize. When was that? Is that on?
so council is lines 42 through 56.
I see it now, sorry, I did not, okay.
That's okay.
Will we scratch that 1% for council?
No,
That'll increase.
You have the ability, Ken's got a lot of general fund comments here. I say, actually, that's not true. I think it's mostly prioritizing capital projects, and then he does have a comment that he's not in favor of eliminating council's salary increase request for this year. We are not overpaid for what we do. If anyone in the village would like to run for trustee on the platform of making the trustee position a volunteer position, I will give them a hearty endorsement and ask their opinion at the end of the term.
I agree with him. Again, we didn't take any increase.
Yeah, you did not last year, you guys. Actually, the last 2 years you have not.
The tower lease payment, okay, so this, going back to revenue. We talked about, we did this.
Okay,
at
we
the
jumped
beginning,
back.
We sold the lease to Verizon and whoever else it was. Okay, so my question back then was. It's on the water tower. Why is it not a utility assisted? Well, utilities were doing better. General fund was hurting at the time, right? Now we're better the opposite.
I'm not-
That's exactly what it was. Now we're on the opposite where our utilities are pretty ugly. That's sitting on top of the water tower. Why would that be able to be contributed towards our utilities, help our utility funds? If we're able to again make these transfers from general fund to here or general fund to there, then the general fund's pretty good, right? So maybe this tower lease should go back towards utilities where the utilities are struggling.
You have to clarify why that is. So we're on line.
Sorry.
the number
I apologize.
25.
Yes.
But okay, so if you get piece of history on that, because I don't remember.
So, Verizon or whatever these companies came in, they said, here's $500,000 or we'll pay this much a year. You know what I mean, to do this, so there's $30,000 that to have their cell phone rates on the top of the water,
Have our.
which is a utility, right? So why would that, again, the utility is struggling, I think we could justify,
Put this
That's-
30,000 into
yes.
utility.
and that is why I'm saying, again, if the general fund is able to continue shuffling money to all these other entities. It sure as heck would make sense to say, oh, we can afford to put that back towards our utility fund, which is where people are really angry.
And you're saying at one point, the
The
tower
general fund was struggling worse than the utilities, so
and that's why it
that's
came
why
to the
it's-
general.
yes, that's why
What,
it's funded
what,
as
at
such.
one time, do you believe it was in the utility fund?
No. When we signed that agreement, we had kind of discussed. Where are we gonna shuffle that money to, or
And that's
what fund are we
why-
gonna put it into? The general fund was struggling.
I see, okay.
Because I thought it made sense to be as a utility, right? That's.
I don't disagree with you.
can it be done that way?
And that's $31,000 back towards the utilities, that's offsetting. How much are we struggling on our water too?
Yeah, I just moved it, so I don't disagree with that at all.
And again, I'm trying to
No, that's
say,
makes sense.
again, these little nitpicky things that if we can afford to do this, well, then let's offset what, again, the needs versus the wants.
I would never pick up on that.
Reimbursements there, Daniel, which ones is that coming from?
So that's for the SRO from the school.
SRO.
And the school grant did end for that program. I did today get a draft agreement amendment that I have not reviewed yet. Had some other stuff going on today. I'll be sharing that with you guys. They're wanting to continue the program and I think keep it similar to what we have now, but again, I've not fully reviewed that, so I will look at it and get it to you guys with my notes and comments.
If you guys have questions like that, again, where we can do line item or something, I mean, that's. Some like these kind of oddities, I know we can't nitpick every single one, but if something doesn't read clear. We could delineate, right, what specifically.
Yeah.
These things, again, that's part of that program, right? So. Much like I wanted to break down in DEA, we do a little sub note. Reimbursements covered. You know what I mean, because it's so vague reading for us. Not only, I've been here 20 years and it's still vague to me to some extent, I'm sure you guys are.
So you're saying like on line 29 where it says reimbursements, to restate that as,
That's an SRO reimbursement. I mean, because would you know what that is?
no, so if she's gonna put it
Yeah,
as SRO, then.
I've got a note to do that.
Oh, good point.
I guess before I continue, any other revenue questions? Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to
No,
jump ahead on you. Any council questions then? Again, there wasn't,
That validates it, but again, you know, we're certainly, you know, we're spending a lot of time doing this stuff. It's
Well, the other part
for
is
the
this, is that,
minor 4%.
I'm gonna say, there's also the ad hoc committees that we attend, and then also, I mean. As
I
a,
think we've been pretty generous.
Parks and Rec, you're on DDA, Mike, I'm on Parks and Rec. I mean, we do those other things as well. But I'm glad you asked now versus in the middle of a meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay, so moving on, administrators, the next department, starting on line 59. You will see a little bit of an increase here. There is the 4% included, but additionally, I am proposing that we change the percentages that I'm paid. So there's a small increase here, but there's a reduction in sewer. And the reason that I'm asking you guys to change that is because I'm not spending as much time on sewer since the upgrade project has been completed and I want to fairly bill them. So I don't want you guys to think it's a larger increase for me. It's just moving those around a little bit. So when we get to sewer tomorrow, you'll see where that's reduced a little bit.
And you're gonna get a new laptop then, Danielle?
Yes, my laptop is still working, but I got this when I started and I use it a ton. And if it crashes, I will have a breakdown probably. I'm trying to do better about replacing technology and making sure that we get computers and things throughout the village. So that is included, but otherwise, it's pretty much the same. Do you guys have questions about this at all?
Like the next one, you moved to administrative assistant, right? You kind of broke that down and spread that across. Was that to raise the general fund, right? Or, I mean, make it more evenly spread across what she does? But couldn't we just get rid of that and spread it fully across what she does and not have it under the general?
So this is specifically Maddie's position, and Maddie does, so she's like DPW. So instead of billing actual, we bill her percentages. So if you wanted to do actual, we could. It'd just be a little bit, it will be tough, but we could do it. So she is in general fund in a couple different spots. This was one of them. There's a zoning administrator, there's police department, because she does work for them. So under police wages, a portion of her wages are within there. She's in water and sewer because she does utility billing payments. She is a large portion in building because of all of the permits and things that she does for them. So you see her wages throughout all of the different funds here. So this portion was reduced a little bit because it was increased in building and she's in general fund in other places. But I didn't want to get rid of, it is, yeah. I mean, we could just combine it if you wanted to.
Foreseeing a simpler budget. If you guys are okay with that, or if you really want it broken down, but we're doing it with the DJ and deep down, you know what I'm saying? So how detailed do we want it? Is it more efficient than saying that is one
How
position?
detailed do you want it?
Is it more efficient than saying?
Observe that one, man.
Who does this benefit right now? Benefit. Budget doesn't benefit.
Well, it's the state general fund, so I mean, right, so yeah,
So. Isn't it breaking down line item by line item, you go for this, you go for that, you go for that. I don't know that there's a difference, but. I agree with you, so, you had, yeah.
I'm sure.
And the big scope, it's on. Very much.
I'll
Overall consideration.
just move it to zoning. It's not a big deal at all. I'm fine getting rid of that department. So clerk. We have 4%, otherwise the same. I am asking to replace her laptop as well, which is actually, I think, a year older than mine.
Yeah, at least it was.
At least I
Yeah,
think a year and a half maybe. And obviously she uses hers for meetings and her one USB doesn't even function anymore. It's so wore down. Any questions with clerk? Treasurer, moving on, is same thing, 4%. Brandon needs a new desktop computer, so we've replaced Lisa's, Laura's, Maddie's. I would like to get his replaced. We need to do the front desk and then eventually mine as well, but we're trying to do one a year.
The desk.
Yes, desktop. Any questions here? Village Hall Building and Grounds. This, I think, is for the most part the same. Was trying to peek
Wait,
real
the big
quick.
increase. That's about
No, wages are actually only $1,000 increase. We budgeted 26 this year and I'm asking for 27. Projected is 17.
Yeah.
And that's because this, I don't want to change DPWs too much because this year was a little bit of a unique year and they were lower in some areas because they were higher in water because of the projects and the meter project and some of the things, the lead service identification, where they won't be next year and years following because we're not doing those meter projects or the meter reads like we used to. So then they're gonna go back up in other areas. It was kind of an outlier year. That's why that's not being decreased. But it is, like I said, only $1,000 increase. And again, I've budgeted 4% for them too. And then we do have some capital project requests here. So we did budget 6,000 to paint the interior of Village Hall. I did talk to Brent about this a little bit, and we tried to see if we could get somebody to bid it out. We actually did. We had several people interested. But we were trying to work within that $6,000 budget, and we would have to cut some areas to make it clean so that we don't have like half of a wall with new paint and half without. And I think it would be better if we could just do it all at once. The PD also needs to be done. So that's why we're requesting the 40. This certainly, I mean, you guys tell me where on your priority list it is. I think the worst spots are in this back foyer and or back area here by the gates.
Lobby.
Yeah, and then the PD is probably like the hallway's not too bad, but it's hard to set stopping points without it looking bad because you're gonna see very clearly like new and old.
This is 10 years we've been here, this commercial building, you know, you're gonna paint your house, you're gonna replace your carpet, you know, within 10 years. And we're not maintaining this place. But again, we're still paying the bond off on that too, so. Yeah, if we have to save it as a line item for next year. Bump it forward, you know.
You want me to put the 40? And we can talk about, we can always change this, keep in mind when we get to,
What's the-
I guess, let me tell you, let's jump to the bottom for a minute. So I just put that 40 in too, by the way, so we can take that out if need be. But right now, before we get into capital too terribly much, my recommendation would be that we maintain a 3-month reserve in general fund. The auditors recommend it's line 614, Gwen. Auditors. Okay, auditors recommend a 2 to 3 month reserve in general fund. So I'm recommending the highest. You guys have the ability to go down to a 2 month. Really, you could go less, but again, auditors is 2 to 3. If we do a 3 month, you have 700, and I just put the 40, so $763,138 to spend towards capital projects. Yeah, it's line 614. And I can, it's gonna be general fund page, I think 15, Gwen. And it says available funding for capital projects at 3 months.
I'm looking out the answer.
But that's the number that's printed on the paper is a little different than where we're actually at right now because we took that 30,750 out of revenues. So it's actually 763,138. before the 40,000 for Village Hall grounds painting. And as you guys tell me projects, I'll enter them and I can live update you on that, what's remaining.
What, for the, go back to the painting for a minute, how much was it? Remind us, again, of the overall cost of the entire building, is that
40.
That's for.
That'd be it all,
everything.
yeah.
And how many years has it been?
And we built this in 14 or remodeled it in 14. And this was Ken's comment on this capital project was. Somewhere.
Tiered off by between the next.
Oh, yeah, he
years.
said if you, could it be held off for 2 to 3 years? If so, I would suggest putting away 15,000 for the next 3 years to help offset inflation and repaint at that time.
We're gonna have to start prioritizing here, so. That dumpster out back there looks like garbage, this looked like garbage for a few years, we haven't done anything with that.
Yeah, so I have that at the 7,700 and then the. Are we gonna do that internally, the North Lane lot this year? You and I talked about that. The tree removal on the North Lane
Why do
parking
we
lot.
wanna take those out?
We had that last storm too. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They're starting to come down too.
Do we really have to move the stumps out there? It's along the tracks, right? Here. 38,000, sorry, but. Again. That's a lot of money.
But if they're dangerous, I mean, we can leave the stumps, that don't matter. But if they're dangerous, you can't have dead trees falling on people, especially when we know about them.
We
Now
can't
we're
do that-
allowed.
we can't do that in house for cheaper.
Well, like I said, we can do it enough, we plan on doing it over the winter, but that is how things go, so.
The Pro Street parking lot tree and shrub replacement, talk to us about that.
That's,
Yeah, that's.
oh, that's this year. That's. Back here, we have some missing, hedges that have, because trees have fallen out or just they've died sections. We had that tree that fell and broke a bunch of it, so we want to fill that in and get it cleaned up so it all looks the same. It also encompassed in that, because we requested 10,000 during last year's budget. And then you guys decided to bump it to 15 so that the bricks, corner planters and the on Lane Street, those could be replanted as well. So that's part of that project. And Mike's actually taking the lead on that portion, or are you kind of all of it, right? Or at least the brick ones.
Yeah. I threw the 2 hydrangeas through her front window the other day.
Yeah.
Those are out, you notice.
I'm gonna look and see.
Yeah, they're right out here. I was watching him out my window.
And by the way, those roots are not affecting them. Correct.
Not them.
I literally leaned on it.
Go grab the other ones across the way. Is that a little bit better?
Do you guys want to do the 40 for Village Hall grounds? We can always remove it or come back to this too, but. Or wait until you get further down, because to spread it out, so to do 15,000 a year for the next 3 years and then do it all at once. So he's saying to put it off a couple of years. Well, and he did, I don't like this because I don't want to like misspeak for him. He did say, does it need to be done this year? If not, so he's asking like, if it needs to be, then.
It needs to be done, but I don't know if it needs to be done this year either.
Okay, so I'll leave that highlighted at 0. We can always come back. The 7,700 for the dumpster enclosure, and that is in the Pearl Street parking lot right here, that it is
That's
beat up bad. Yeah, and that would be that's the materials and DPW doing the work.
I'm cool with that.
Everybody else good with that?
40, so wait,
Uh,
40 and 77, right? You are for the 40 and for average?
No, I did not right now.
Not yet? Okay.
Yep, I said we might come back to that. So the 77's in
Well,
there.
can you put 15 then, and that way, if, you know what I mean, right? Because then. if we're-
Then yeah, we can do
then we're
15.
Starting somewhere.
Okay, and then the North Lane parking lot tree and stump removal, so that's why I kind of looked to Brent, because he and I did talk about maybe trying to squeeze this in-house this winter possibly, and saving some money there, but I don't know if we want to try to budget something. It's up to you guys if you want to leave the stumps. I don't think it's going to look appealing. I don't know that it's a high priority. We could do it in a year. It's up to you guys here. But if we are hoping to maybe do that internally.
If you think approve the stuff to affect the train track, so.
No, I just don't want to pay $38,000 to pull up some stuff.
Let's remove it.
That's- yeah, it's-
That's.
Yeah, because you can't just leave it there and, yeah, it's-
Up to the ground, all the way. How many cars parked there? How many people are complaining about they have to park up front, you know what I mean, because they won't walk across the tracks and. You know, walk out their yards. Nobody parks there.
I always say we might as well just watch from the house.
Right.
Okay.
They can plant the trees.
we want to come back,
I want them down, but
Cost you money, if you cost you money to plant, let them plant, take care of it.
we want to,
well, wouldn't that be an urban forestry then?
well, it's technically DDA, because it's DDA parking lots, but they've not been able to fund their parking lots.
Really, all these parking lots used to be DDA.
I'll call 'em that.
Those planters, they were DDA,
Yeah,
now you moved them. All of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the DEA quote bonded to build this stuff, and now what do? We have events downtown, right? So, you know what I'm saying? It's, yeah, you're absolutely right. Priorities, right?
we want to
So
leave,
that 38.5 includes the stump removal.
it would be, yeah, it would be a
Never
clean up, remove, and that would be having somebody come in, remove them, haul them off, grind the stumps out and everything. So that was not in-house either.
Tell us again how much we're gonna have to cut out of what is requested versus what we have. Is it raining on everybody's parade?
So if we were to fund all capital projects, we would be in the hole $1,050,151.
That's my thought on those stumps right there, so that's.
Okay. It is 9:02. I'm not saying I don't want to continue. I guess, are you guys gonna tell me when you want to stop?
Yes.
Okay. Or you want to stop?
Sorry.
Oh, big boy, big guy, keep going.
We can throw Amelia while he's here.
I think we're through Parks and Rec. I mean, he's not over the park facility, so his part's done. Unless you have a question for him.
What's the transfer, because it went from what, like 8,500 to. Yeah, so it's literally just the pool stuff, or is that his wages, what's that?
No, we were, before the pool transfer, we were asking for a $10,000 transfer to help offset DPW wages, similar to what DDA does. But you don't see that now because that was pre-pool moving, and so it would have been a smaller, but with the pool moving over, that's where you're seeing, yeah.
Okay. Clear. Thank you.
So the next section is attorney, which is really our auditor attorney, and then our ordinances, which is the muni code hosting. We have been trying to keep our attorney services as needed, with obviously their higher and sewer, which we'll talk about, but I mean, I budgeted 15 because I never know exactly what's gonna come up, if our needs will change, or if we have a variance or something and we need him here more. So that's why I've left that. Is there any questions on that, attorney?
We cut the attorney from the meeting. What would that cost us? Because again. Safeguarding of the village, I sure wish an attorney would be here at least one
No way,
No,
Jose.
I can't.
He
imagine.
gave you guys that cost. I don't off the top of my head recall, but I can pull it and see if it would still be.
Can't imagine why these families don't have an attorney come to a meeting.
There's no reason for him to come. I'm not trying to be smart out, I don't know any time that we were in a fix where we had to have him here. Unless there's something I missed.
Pretty slow, it's an insurance policy. But I get it, it's a lot of money.
I did, if there were a need or we found something, we said, oh, we might want to rethink this, then I can feel where you're coming from. But I don't see that. Is there something I'm missing? We're missing a group of vaccine. You want to like mess on that? Because I don't really see that need. In fact, that was a big,
So
that was a
you're
big project.
saying to every meeting,
Used to have them at every meeting, I would say like
so,
one of the regular council.
but if there's like nothing legal that we would need for the services for, or even if there was, could we table it for like the next meeting and have him come?
We have.
Yeah, I try to, if there's something on your agenda that's going to be, maybe something new or that has some legal ramification, I mean, you could say everything we do has, but like a higher than normal, I try to always give Dave a heads up so that he can be here for those. That being said, I'm not gonna say that there's never a time where maybe you guys want him that I didn't think of it. So you
But-
could
but still
potentially,
then
you
we
could
could-
just postpone or
Yeah,
wait to take action on that item until the next time, unless it's again like a super high priority, but it, and you guys can always request him if you want him there. I mean, we just need to let him know. But Dave and I try to get in front of things. So like if we have a policy change or we have something, an agreement that's coming to you guys, I have him review it beforehand and provide any comments. And usually, like if there's something he's worried about, we try to work that out so that when it comes to you guys, that he and I and the staff all feel good about what's coming to you, and then he doesn't have to sit
That's
here
probably
for a
cheaper
whole.
Solution than saying like, okay, half-hour phone call.
Yeah, and I've been trying to, yeah, I've been trying to be better about making that note in the agenda item too, like a attorney is reviewed, so that you guys do know. But if you ever want to know, we talk about, like, he reviews all of our ordinances ahead of time, any agreements he reviews. I try to keep him in the loop on that stuff. I think how we're doing it has worked out well. I will certainly provide that cost to you guys again and check with him to see if it's changed. I mean, it's completely up to you guys, but I think that's why we went this way, because we felt like we had good communication still. They're still reviewing those things. Historical Depot. This is, again, for the most part, the same, capital projects here. We do have the roof replacement and window replacement both being requested. The roof replacement is 22,000, window is 16,500. I think the roof probably needs replaced more than the windows if you were looking at funding one and putting one off another year. Mike, you know a little bit more about this than I, is that correct?
Yeah.
Because okay.
Yeah, again, we start having leaks, we're gonna have a lot more damage inside than what the windows are doing. The windows are, they need to be whatever they're called. Why are we funding all of the electric and the sewer and the water? What are we doing over there?
Nothing.
Exactly. Boy Scout cabin, right?
Nothing.
So again, I'm gonna start nitpicking this stuff, and then it's time that we just can't afford it, so.
I
yeah,
don't disagree.
The Historic Society is great, they have their meetings, they're sometimes open with bathrooms, right? Sometimes we have bathrooms here. Grandma doesn't want to cross the tracks and go there anyway, she's gonna complain. So, again, where do we trim the fat? Well, I'm sorry, but that may be some of it right there, so.
I
hate to say it, but I'm gonna start nitpicking this
I
stuff.
won't disagree with you, I'm just curious. Cause you made a really obviously valid points on it with this in the voice note, Kevin. Where, I mean, where do you start on this? I mean, where do you, like, what, you just say, okay, line number, well, what do we do here? Does the depot start to pay their electric bill and gas bill? Is that what you're saying? I mean, how would you do that? How would you do?
How do we quantify the overall greatness that we're providing those residents, having this and having this and having this, right? I mean, we have city quality of life versus needs.
How would you do that? So say, for example, we say, okay, historic depot, okay, what do we eliminate?
I think I would do it similar to what you guys did with the library and reach out to the Historical Deep Society and say, hey, we're looking at making cuts. What can you afford? How are you gonna fund yourself? We're gonna give you guys it's some time to get your affairs or finances in order to take this over. I mean, I think that would be the kind way to do it rather than just saying, well, next year we're not funding your electric. You're gonna have to figure it out. I mean, we are the owner of that building. They are the user. I mean, we could talk to them. Do they charge rent? Do they start? I mean, so I think it's bringing them in and having a conversation and saying, we want some solution to this by next budget year, whatever that may be. And then hopefully, again, because it may be, I'm not saying it has to be exactly like how, but it might be that they pay rent or they take on utilities and we take on maintenance. I mean, you guys can negotiate with them what that exactly looks like.
Let's do that.
I think that's a good idea.
And then, so the window replacement, definitely put that on. And then the roof replacement, depending on the discussion, I mean. I don't know.
Well, technically, the village building that they kind of, when the society went away, they were
Right.
not reverted, but changed the village, right? So.
Well, it used to
Yeah,
be
I
the
think, yes.
DDA, right?
What's that?
Didn't it used to be the DDA? That was their building and
Never-
it was their office.
Yes, but it wasn't
Yeah.
the villages at that time.
It was still always historical. We
Okay.
didn't even think that.
We just took ownership after
We
like
take
they kind of
ownership.
just.
And
Yeah,
they
they
just
like
had-
they fought for a while.
I don't know if we
Okay.
made them,
Um,
right? But we also took care of our own bathroom,
Yes.
all the electricity.
Yes.
What do you guys think about the girls? No.
well, We
When
just
we
paid
have that
800 cents.
conversation,
We just paid 100 cents for the libraries. But that's our building, you know, much like this is our building. It's not pretty up there, the shakes are very fragile, and I just don't want to start leaking and then. Brent knows the damage. that-
Then let's do a roof replacement, with the discussion. Well,
Or
discussion with the
rental.
rental or something like that, yeah. However you wanna put your little around to that. And then if we need to have a committee of the whole meeting.
That's what I made a note. Maybe we invite them to a committee of the whole.
And I'm not trying to blindside anybody, this isn't trying to be a jerk, but again, it's. People are putting their foot down, we need to put our foot down.
So Boy Scout building is next, and again, this is the same as normal. They do have a request here for installation. So they had a water meter that broke. It must have been before me, because I don't think it's happened since. And they also have a bathroom remodel, but not this year, it's next year. So they've got a couple things coming up. We did paint their building. They did fund part of that. With the painting, we did 5,000, they did 2,500.
So who owns that?
Yeah.
building?
We own it.
And that's.
And
that's
this
weird.
one has a lease that is, I can send you the paperwork for it. It's, this is another really, it's like the tennis court. It has no termination. It's for the use of the Boy Scouts, and I want to say the term was like 100 years or so. It's really long. And I can send you the date on that, and I'll send the lease and
Or
information
revert
you
back to the
guys.
Family or whatever, but.
Yeah, there was
Because I
some
feel-
weird conditions on that one. I have all the information. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
So is it like one troop that?
Yes, it's the Blissfield.
Up there, and aren't they part of Boy Scouts of America, and
We are,
can't they?
and that's $21,000 out of our budget. You know, right?
The insulation in there goes.
I mean, how many other Boy Scout clubhouses are owned by?
Where the Girl Scouts do.
Owned by the village.
People's houses,
I'm guessing they don't have a Girl Scout. house.
people's houses.
That's how I always, when it was, I was there at someone's house.
That Tim, you doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun.
Do we want to fund the 10,000? And then I'm good with your motion, Tim, if
No,
you,
I do not want
the
to.
10,000.
You asked me if I wanted to fund it?
No, I was asking everybody. And then I said, and then I'm good with your motion, Tim, sorry. Yeah, we don't, but
Out there. Yes.
So we're funding it?
are we funding the installation? No, can we just finish that department? I'm sorry
You know,
to be annoying.
Yeah. And then we talk about their, after they pay half their utilities coming up.
Yeah. I agree.
discussion with them. as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, thank you.
That way the people got after what they asked.
everybody's done,
Yeah.
yep.
All right, so we'll go back to municipal improvement tomorrow.
Very good. Culture is gonna be nitpicky this year.
That's wrong.
Tired
You gotta have the discussions, and this is what this kind of.
is.
I agree, Mike.
We done?
State card, how much does it even get used?
We use a lot, but does it? Yeah.
It does get used.
They're
a
there
lot.
every night.
Well, we'll talk about it. I got my council there, we'll talk about it tomorrow, right?
Put on my grandchildren.
I'm still out by